Today, deep in the heart of it, there are only two things in Texas: cars and stars. Will drive into victory lane this afternoon in the Exxon Superflo 500. Today, from Texas World Speedway, it's the Exxon Superflo 500, featuring the Exxon World Sports Cars and the Exxon Supreme GT Series. Hi, everybody. I'm Gary Lee alongside IMSA racing veteran Randy Pobst. And Randy, realistically, the story this weekend is Wayne Taylor. He's on the pole. It's been a tough week, though, for the crew.
A real racing drama for the Danica Conica crew on their Oldsmobile Aurora-powered Riley and Scott chassis. Jim Pace, an old friend of mine from the Skip Barber Racing School, put the car off in practice, did some major damage, but the crew, working long hours overnight, put that car together, and Wayne Taylor, in just 2 laps, puts it on the pole.
Well, we know it's fast for 2 laps. Can it last 261 laps or 500 miles? The racetrack here at Texas World, 1.9 miles, 9 turns, utilizing the infield road section and the 22-degree banking of turns 3 and 4. Here with a closer look, let's go inside the cockpit and David Donahue with his BMW.
Coming off the oval, top speed, 160 miles an hour, 6th gear, down to 3rd gear for turn 2. This is a high-speed handling section of the course. You really have to have your car working here to get a good lap time. Into turn 3 here, approaching. It's the last chance you have to pass any car on the infield. Down to 2nd gear as we approach turn 4, which is going into the autocross section of the course. It's 1st gear here, very slow. As you see, we're really kind of handling the car around, very close to other cars. There's no chance of passing. Trying to set up to get back out on the oval. Long carousel. Get on the throttle as early as you can. Now all you really are trying to do is follow the car in front of you, because the draft is so important here. Even if you don't agree where the guy's going, you just follow him no matter where he goes. Up through the gears, 5th gear. Around turn 4 on the oval, back to 6. And just hang on.
And we thank David Donahue for that trip around the racetrack as we take a look now at your starting lineup. Again, it is the Wayne Taylor Mark III Oldsmobile on the pole. A Ferrari, Max Pappas will start outside. In fact, Max won the last outing 2 weeks ago at Atlanta. So consequently, it's been a season-long battle between the Mark III chassis and the Ferrari. So, Randy, it's going to be a hot, humid, oppressive day. It will take its toll on both the drivers and the equipment.
500 miles is quite a distance for these cars, and these drivers are up to the challenge. We've got Fords, we've got Oldsmobiles, we've got Ferraris coming down to take the green flag. We'll see if we can get that. They can get that start off nice and clean.
A drag race off the 22-degree banking as the green flag is out. Immediately, the Ferrari of Max Pappas takes the lead into the 1st corner. You can see the number 20 Dyson car moving up to 2nd position. That is John Paul Jr. Some of these cars have 3 and 4 drivers assigned. They'll be making numerous pit stops and, of course, driver changes throughout this 500-mile event.
Quite a jump for Pappas as he moves right past the front row. And here's Wayne Taylor diving right back under. No, that's a Dyson car all the way into the lead.
That's the John Paul car.
Does he know this is a 6-hour race? John is ready to run.
John started inside the 2nd position, but already he is up to the lead. In fact, it was only determined moments before the start of this race that John Paul would actually jump into this car for the start.
You know, John Paul's been around a long time. That guy can drive, and he's got the Ford Dyson car right out front. The Ferrari is hard after him. Let's see if the Ferrari's got the power to pull up behind him on the straightaway.
Caught a glimpse of the 95 car of Barry Waddell, another of the World Sports Cars, and you can see that gap that has developed now between 1st and 2nd. The Dyson cars of number 20 and number 16 actually have the Ferrari sandwich right now, and Wayne Taylor has dropped back to 4th position. But realistically, although he qualified for the pole, they're not really sure what kind of a race car they had today. They really put this race car together in the last 2 days. That big practice crash on Thursday, they had to fly parts in from the Riley and Scott shop in Indianapolis. They put the car together. Wayne had 2 hot laps, as we've documented, got the pole position, but still they're uncertain as to what they really have for the race.
Good point, Gary Lee. One of the main things that a team is trying to accomplish in practice is a setup that's going to work in the race. A car that goes really quick in qualifying is not necessarily a comfortable car to run in a long race, and an economical car. You need the chassis to be set up so it's easy to drive, it's predictable, and that you don't get any surprises on the racetrack. And right now, Wayne Taylor is probably still just getting the feel for his chassis because he hasn't had much track time here at Texas World Speedway.
The number 16 car is James Weaver. That's another Mark III chassis built by Raleigh and Scott out of Indianapolis, owned by Rob Dyson. Well, this track is very, very slick through that center road section. We had a 6-hour IMSA Endurance Challenge race yesterday, putting down a lot of rubber, a lot of marbles. Combine that as the track temperature begins to rise this afternoon. It's going to be a skating rink out there.
Out here in Texas, we're almost to the American desert. It gets really, really hot. The sun has not yet broken through, but I would imagine we're going to see that within the hour. And when the sun hits that track, starts baking up it to over 100 degrees of temperature, the traction is just going to go away and go away.
Watching Wayne Taylor, then, in fact, he has called back to the pits and asked his crew to request the tower to review the start.
That was quite a jump. On the other hand, you know what, Gary? 500 miles from now, that's probably
all
not
is forgotten.
matter. But on the other hand, you've always got to go for every inch you can. Because look at what happened at Daytona. Wayne Taylor and the Ferrari, in fact, I think it was Max Pappas. After 24 hours, they were on the same lap within a few seconds of each other.
Well, Pappas, of course, was the dominant driver at Road Atlanta just a couple of weeks ago in that Ferrari. As you take a look at the number 4 chassis, this is actually the chassis. There's your GTS leader. That is the Boris Said car. That's the Mustang. In fact, Boris Said was victorious yesterday in the endurance race. In fact, this crew was involved in just a devastating crash earlier this week, and we had a chance to talk to Boris about exactly what happened with the tow rig.
Well, basically, they were driving down the road, and he turned around and talked to somebody in the back, and traffic stopped, and he rear-ended a semi. And I mean, he's lucky to be alive. I mean, I showed you the picture of the truck, and it's really unfortunate. I mean, you see things like that on the news, and you don't think much about it until it happens to somebody that's pretty close to you. And the good news is nobody died. The driver's in pretty bad shape, though. He's going to be laid up for a while. He's got, all his lower extremities are broken pretty much in the bits. So, but I talked to him today, and he seems in pretty good spirits, so that's good. We got a new crew flying in. We've only got one guy here now, and a lot of people helping. But the Mustang went real fast in practice, and hopefully this one we can win it for the guys in Peru that are sitting in the hospital. That would be a really neat thing if we could win this one.
There you go.
2 guys remain hospitalized. One crew member went back home. The other crew member is here this weekend, but a devastating crash. I saw the photographs of that wreck. So Boris Said was victorious yesterday in the endurance race with Sean Hendricks here at Texas World Speedway. So we are underway. A clean start. We'll come back with more from Texas World Speedway. The Exxon Superflo 500 is brought to you by Exxon Superflo Motor Oils. Quality motor oils for all your driving needs. And by BMW, the ultimate driving machine. We are back live from Texas World Speedway, and there is a look at the Momo Ferrari, and it looks like Max Pappas has just shredded a right front tire.
That is really unusual. He must have touched some traffic or something because it's so strange. Or maybe just simply a puncture. That's too bad for Max because he was out front in that Ferrari after a heck of a start. In fact, so good that Wayne Taylor was complaining about it.
Well, here is a look as he moves to the inside now of car number 20, John Paul, to take the lead. And was there contact between the 2 cars? No, he just shredded the right front on the inside. That could have been very dangerous had those 2 cars gotten together. You're talking about coming down the front stretch at 190 plus miles an hour.
Absolute
Watch now.
Top speed. That's correct. Probably 195 miles an hour, and that tire exploded. Must have been a puncture. because these tires go 24 hours without problems unless they hit something that gives them a puncture.
Look at the damage to the right front corner of that race car, and Pappas was able to hang on, keep it straight, and get it out of the racing groove as he is limping back to the pit area. We do now have a full course yellow. Once again, this is a 500-mile event. That represents 261 miles, or there's a time limit of 5 hours. One of our 2 pit reporters is Greg Creamer. Greg?
Gary, I'm standing by with Jim Pace, who of course is co-driving with Wayne Taylor in the car that just was involved in an incident out there in terms of watching what was happening on course, a few cars behind it. First of all, Jim, you had problems on Thursday with a big accident, missed all of Friday. The car ran a few laps on Saturday morning, yet Wayne came back with pole. Testament to the team?
Well, I think it's a testament to the team. We had a problem on Thursday. We missed all day Friday, put it back together, put a new suspension on it, went out, did like 3 laps. The motor didn't feel good, came in, and in 1 hour, put a new Aurora V8 in it, went out 2 laps, put it on the pole. Wayne Taylor did a great job. The Pirelli tires did their job, and the car did a great job. Now we just have to go 500 miles.
All right, and again, you got a lot of time to be able to do that. Now, standing by with another driver, the other end of the pits, we're going to run down and find out about the Ferrari. Let's send it down to Pat.
Thanks, Greg. Johnny O'Connell's driving today with Craig T. Nelson, Dan Clark. You know, it's one of these deals where they call it an endurance race, but really it's kind of an insurance race. You got to ensure that you're going to be around here all day long. Fortunately, this may be your team's best shot at winning a race. What do you think?
You know, this is a funny racetrack. It's so hard on all the parts because of the banking is pretty aggressive here, but also your motor's wide open for such a long time. I know last year there were a lot of teams that blew up motors and had just really unusual failures. So hopefully the Screaming Eagles team has done its homework, and we've got a piece here that will go the 500 miles in 5 hours.
Now, guys, if you don't know, this guy's third in the IRL points right now. He's thinking about Indianapolis coming up in just a few weeks. I know it's kind of hard to concentrate, but this afternoon you may get Craig T. Nelson to victory lane for the first time, and I know that's what he and Dan have really been planning, put the right team, the right group together.
You know what? They've been through such teething, pains over the years, and with this team that he's got right now, they've got really good guys, a really good car. So yeah, hopefully we'll win today. The unfortunate thing is I've got to catch a flight back to Indy at 6 o'clock, so I won't be around at the end.
All right, Johnny, thanks very much.
Well, Johnny O'Connell missed nothing by not being at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway yesterday because the opening day was rained out, and there's rain in the forecast for the central Indiana area for this afternoon. As once again you take a look at that tire exploding on the Momo Ferrari. We're live from Texas World Speedway. We remain under yellow. 10 of 261 laps now complete. John Paul Jr. out in front. His teammate James Weaver is second. Then Wayne Taylor is third. Didier Tays in the other Ferrari is fourth. And Craig T. Nelson now rounding out the top 5. We do have a couple of drivers in the pit lane. There is Boris Said. In fact, he had been leading the GT1 class. He brought the car in overheating, the only Mustang in the race this afternoon. Of course, we said earlier that Boris and his co-driver Sean Hendricks victorious yesterday in that 6-hour endurance championship. Also in the pits, the number 7 car, that's Elliott Forbes Robinson, and EFR said that car is stuck in 4th gear, so they may be in the pits for about 20 minutes to replace that. And you can see the crew there trying to work on the overheating problem in that number 6 car.
Problems early on for these teams. For Boris Said and Eduardo Dibos in their Mustang, this is a good break, this yellow flag. But the longer the yellow lasts, the more chance they have to fix that car without losing too many laps, because we're talking about 500 miles.
Let's check in now with Pat Patterson. Pat is standing by there in the pit lane. Well, we understand that the number 6 crew now is changing a water pump on that car.
Wow, water pump. Let's hope not, because that'll really take some time in the pits and hurt them. Interestingly, down in GTS2, we have a BMW leading, and fortunately for the competitors, the overall leader has got them all into the pits.
Another pit stop for Max Pappas in the Gianpiero Momo Ferrari. Gianpiero Moretti, the co-owner of this car, and he'll be co-driving later this afternoon. After they changed the front, they brought him back in.
What they did was they had a lot of work to accomplish after fixing that flat that broke apart the whole right front end. And Max, now 2 laps down, didn't want to go down any further. so they did as much as they could to get the car roadworthy. They sent it out of the pits ahead of the pace car. He runs around the track, comes back in, and they get some more work done without losing another lap.
Seems like in addition to this problem with the Ferrari, a lot of early problems mechanically on these cars.
Amazing, surprising. In fact, Boris said, I can relate to that because yesterday in the IMSA Endurance Championship race, my car overheated on the very first lap. But, you know, no matter how hard a team works, it seems like funny little things can still go wrong. That's part of what makes racing so interesting and such an adventure.
There is the Formula One Ferrari test driver in the cockpit, and of course he won 2 weeks ago. There
doesn't look too happy
lead cars
either
in the GT2 class.
GTS2. This is Bill Auberlin driving with Matt Cohen in that BMW M3. He has come all the way up from virtually the back of the pack. I mean, he must have had a heck of a start and got himself ahead of the Larry Schumacher, Andy Pilgrim Porsche.
Let's try once again to reach Pat Patterson in the pit lane.
Boris Said sits in the car, water pump shaft. That's a pretty strange one, Boris.
Yeah, that's unusual. I mean, that's definitely not. I mean, that's a rarity for the Ford Mustang. And it's too bad. I mean, we got a great handling car. You know, we were pulling away easy, but the guys will get it fixed. And as soon as they get the car fixed, we're going to run it really hard and see how many laps we can make up.
Well, you can see right there that we're back under green as the battle continues into the first corner into a very sweeping turn 1, turn 2 complex.
And we see a move by Craig T. Nelson. I got to give Craig credit. He's coach from the TV show in the number 2 car right here, going outside 3 GTS2 cars in turn 1, which is the highest speed corner on the track. We've watched Craig making progress over the last couple of years. He's got their car up at 4th in the grid to start the race, and he's really driving like a racer.
Let's go back to the pit lane. Greg, you have some thoughts on the Momo Ferrari.
Yeah, just a little bit of an update. Randy, you were absolutely right. What they had tried to do was get the car out and not go down a lap. They weren't real pleased when they got stopped at pit exit. They thought they had made it well out in terms of relative to the pace car on the track. They got held up, so that strategy didn't work. The good news is when they came in, they just had to tape up some bodywork, send them out. There was no discernible damage to the suspension components on the car. Strictly a tire and bodywork damage. And this crew, the Momo Yokohama crew, did a phenomenal job to replace that nose in a very short time.
We got a glimpse right there through turn 1, turn 2. That is the other Ferrari. That is Didier Tays, the Belgian driver. He takes it into turn 3, now into turn 4, into what we call the S's through the infield. Very slow. You get stuck behind a car from a different class, and you're just stuck right there until you get out to turn 8 up on the banking.
That's the truth. But you know what? I think it's one of my favorite sections of that course because you're really driving the car at the limit within tight confines. It's very much a challenge and very much a quick steering input kind of a section.
I would guess at this point of the race, you're not necessarily racing another driver. You're really racing the track. You're setting your own pace that you have determined to be the pace you need to go for 500 miles.
You know, it's sitting in the paddock in the transporter the night before the race, talking to the team manager. That's what we all discuss. And then we get out there on the track, as a little smoke is pouring out of the back of the 20 car. Let's hope that's just something temporary for them. And you get on the racetrack and everybody starts running.
Elliott Forbes Robinson, as we mentioned earlier, stuck in 4th gear. So the veteran sets somewhat dejectedly. Nothing he can do as he's in the cockpit. The crew working on the back of that car. They had to go to the back of the pack. They had changed engines overnight after the qualifying session. According to IMSA rules, you do that, you go to the back of the pack.
That's too bad for EFR and John Schneider. And we hope that Bobby Brown team can get that car back together again and he can get back out there. If it wasn't for this super tight section, EFR could probably run competitive times with just 1 gear.
Well, right now you have the 2 Rob Dyson entries running 1-2. That is that Mark III Riley and Scott chassis, Ford powered. And out in front is John Paul Jr. Grew up in Indiana, now lives in Florida.
Another driver that will probably be running at Indianapolis. But
how ominous looking is that blue smoke, though?
That's not a good sign. It doesn't appear to be coming out of the tailpipes. It looks more random, which means it could be some kind of a leak. Not a good sign this early in the race.
Well, of course, he probably can't see it, but his teammate is directly behind him, so he can radio back to the crew and say there may be a problem in car number 20. All these guys are hooked up with radios to their crews, so we'll certainly keep an eye on car number 20, and that could forestall some problems a bit later on. We're coming back with more live coverage from Texas World Speedway. We are back with our live coverage of the Exxon Superflo 500 from Texas World Speedway. We look back into the pack at Bill Auberlen in the BMW. Bill started in 24th position, and right now he has moved up to 13th. He was 10th in class. He's now leading that division.
GTS2 is really an interesting class in IMSA. There's been a growing trend moving towards cars that are more like street cars, and the BMW exemplifies that. There are a lot of parts on those M3 race cars. There's 3 of them in the race, and they're now first, and they're third, and they're fifth. And here the Porsche 911 also, basically that is a unibody car that has a lot of modification done to it, but basically a Porsche. And personally, as a driver, I like these kind of cars because they're like the real cars that we run. BMW and Porsche very tightly matched, similar in power. This is Pete Halsmer running third in the 07 BMW. And the downside for BMW of trying to run a car that's so much like their street car is that they end up not being able to get it down to all the way down to the legal race weight. They could actually be 300 pounds lighter, 2,200 pounds, but there's no way for them to get there. Tom Milner, the team manager and owner, has gone all out on a limb trying to lighten those cars up, but they're so good that here they are leading anyway.
Yeah, it truly is a team effort with Bill Auberlen leading his class, but the team driver is standing by. An interested spectator right now is with Greg.
Matthew, obviously you guys had a little problem in qualifying. Bill went out and something happened in the back end of the car and you didn't even get a lap in. What a charge he's made here from the back into the class lead.
Yeah, definitely. That's why we put Bill in first, because Bill's definitely a better driver than I am. He's got a lot more experience. And we knew what we had to do at the beginning, and he's going to get enough of a lead so I can make all my mistakes. And hopefully I'll keep the lead. He'll get back in and he'll finish it off for us.
Any concern that Bill might be using the car up too much in the charge through the pack?
No, Bill knows how to handle the car. The car is extremely fast. And he knows not to push it, and I trust his best judgment. We'll see how it goes from there.
All right, some busy action on the track. Gary?
Yeah, I guess so. As we're talking about Bill, he became a sandwich between the Dyson cars.
Talk about blowing doors off, but that's one of the interesting challenges in IMSA racing is that they run in the Exxon GT 3 classes together that have wide variances in performance. And that BMW was probably going 160 when those cars went by him. Isn't that something?
On either side, and we're still seeing the smoke out of the rear of number 20, his teammate directly behind him. That is James Weaver, second overall. How do you really determine who starts the race? I talked with Pete Halsmer last night. He said, I will not start the race. I'll come in after the first pit stop. By surprise, he started the race.
Yeah, you know, there's all kinds of strategies. And here's an example of how important it is to watch your mirrors. And it looks like Weaver is maybe trying to make a little move on John Paul there, but he's not quite able to pull it off.
Well, obviously, he had to know where those guys were, because if he saw a guy come up on the right side and moved over, it'd be a disaster.
You got it. The word is hold your line, basically. Be predictable.
Well, there is the Morgan car. That's the father and son. That's Rob Morgan, the son, driving. He shares the ride with his dad, Charles Morgan, out of Conway, Arkansas, so he goes a lap down. And once again, the Dyson cars run 1-2. Is it now to their advantage to run in this situation where you got the team cars nose to tail?
Absolutely, as long as those drivers will cooperate. As we go to Stu Hayner in the pits for some work on the car.
A little early for a pit stop.
Yeah, very early, especially for a tire change. They must have some other problem they're trying to address.
Chevrolet Camaro getting a right side rubber. And you can see they're still working on the Boris Said Mustang. Had the problem with the water pump drive earlier.
That's a big job, Gary. It's too bad for Boris. He's a great guy, a heck of a driver, and for Eduardo Dibos, who's the one really going for the championship points.
Once again, we're back to the lead now. 22 laps complete of a 261 event here at Texas World Speedway. They go through turn 2, the little short stretch to the right-hander, which is turn 3. And still out in front is John Paul Jr. and his teammate James Weaver right behind him. They're running identical cars for Rob Dyson Racing. We're coming back with more live from Texas World Speedway. Hey, coming up the middle of June, the granddaddy of all the endurance races, we take you to Le Mans for the annual 24-hour endurance run. And, of course, the Ferraris in early qualifying are 1 and 2, with Wayne Taylor now third in his Mark III. And the Garage Porsche with Mario Andretti was fourth quick in the preliminary qualifying. And, of course, We will have the live coverage of the start and periodic updates throughout the night. We'll start June 15th with live coverage at 8:30 a.m. So join us for live coverage from Le Mans. And there is Wayne Taylor, who right now was third fast in qualifying, and he's running right now on the racetrack in third position. Let's go back to the pit lane, Greg.
Well, I'm with crew chief Mark Scott, and Mark, the first question we'd like to ask is, after not having a lot of track time, how's the car early on?
The car's basically very good. We've picked up a little bit of a loose situation, and we're just starting to go to work on that. We're going to make some tire adjustments, and he's going to make some in-cockpit adjustments also.
Now, you went to Le Mans a week or so ago to do a little pre-race qualifying for that event. Ended up very good. Ended up third. It's got to be very exciting for you. Looking forward to a little fast times in June.
That's right. It was a nerve-wracking day. It was like bump day at the Speedway. But we came through it okay, and we're very encouraged for the potential for speed for the race.
All right, well, you're going to be the first team to try and win all 3 major endurance races in 1 year. I think you're up to it. Pat, you've got some information on the other end of the pits.
Yeah, Stu Hayner was just in a second ago, and I got a puncture of the front left tire right up here on top, and you can see that it doesn't take much, guys. Even a small puncture up here, you can really destroy a tire in a hurry.
Wanted to underscore something on the Wayne Taylor ride. The car that won Daytona and Sebring is the chassis that they qualified at Le Mans. The chassis he is running today is the chassis they ran 2 weeks ago at Atlanta, and now we have a new leader. Same team, the Dyson team. However, now James Weaver has gotten around John Paul Jr. So, did John Paul slip a bit? Is there a mechanical problem? You want to see how that happened? Let's go back and take a look. Here is the pass for the lead down the front straightaway up to 190, 195 miles an hour before they're downshifting into turn 1. Just textbook.
Well, Weaver used that draft. This Texas World Speedway has the longest, fastest straightaway in IMSA racing right now. He used the draft and got himself right in front of John Paul. Part of what he may have been after was trying to get away from whatever that wisp of smoke we see is. It may have been oiling his visor and his windscreen, and maybe they even discussed that pass because it looked like John Paul hung kind of high for him and made it easy.
We heard the comments from Mark Scott. That, of course, is Scott from Scott and Riley, and they actually build the Mark III chassis. And those chassis are running 1, 2, 3 right now. Different power plants, Ford in first and second. Max Pappas in the Ferrari is slowing down. So another pit stop for the Momo car.
Yeah, there's a problem in the right front maybe there. It's great to see those American chassis, American engine combinations leading, though, right here in the heart of Texas.
Well, you have 2 Fords out in front, and the Olds Aurora running in third position.
He's got a flat right front again.
Didier Tays in the other Ferrari is now in fourth, and coach Craig T. Nelson now is in 5th position. I don't know. Let's take a look again and see if we can discern what exactly happened with Max Pappas.
He's in the Momo Ferrari over in the infield section.
A lot of smoke coming out the rear of the tire, rear of the car. Is that engine? Brakes?
We
tires?
don't see them going for anything under the engine cover. It could be a real tire problem. Did you see that right front lock on the way into the pits? He wasn't going all that hard. I think he had another puncture in his right front tire. And fortunately this time, it didn't cause an explosion up on the banking like last time. He caught it early, and fortunately they got the car in. Boy, the problems continue for that team.
He's probably saying, what else could go wrong? How do you say that in Italian?
Oh, I don't know. The French would say, c'est la vie, my friend.
2 laps down is Max Pappas right now after that first blowing tire. We were talking about the chassis up in front. In fact, that Riley and Scott chassis now runs in 4 of the top 5, actually 5 of the top 6 positions. So a dominant chassis so far this season in the IMSA World Sports Cars.
Interestingly, that chassis is a steel tube frame, which is a fairly simple and inexpensive type of construction. Riley and Scott having built sedans, kind of like the Morgan Oldsmobile we just saw there for years. They're an expert at making a good stiff chassis, which is very important in racing, out of steel tube frames. It also keeps the cost down, as we see the Dyson car at about $250,000, going by the Ferrari at about $1 million.
Well, we've had a lot of damage done to these cars as we have 2 cars coming back in the pits, the Ferrari in and also car number 20. Now here is John Paul Jr. That is the car that was showing the smoke earlier. And so perhaps we do have a mechanical problem, really too early to make a pit stop.
Let's see if they go under the engine cover to try anything. Looks like a normal pit stop thus far. Did you see how it looked like they were crawling on their way in? There's a pit lane speed limit.
65 miles an hour.
Oh, that's crawling in a world sports car, let me tell you. So they had to just slow it right down. Otherwise, they get a speeding ticket in the form of a stop-and-go penalty, which could be a real problem. Less so, though, in this 500-mile race.
Well, obviously no driver change here, so John Paul will stay in the car for another stint.
See the smoke coming off the front brakes? Gary, that's simply because they get extra hot when they stop. It's called heat soak.
That's the car that led the first 25 laps, actually 24 the first 25 laps before losing the lead to his teammate, James Weaver. So a quick stop for fuel, tires, and he's back out.
We'll know everything's okay, Gary, if we see the Weaver car come in shortly. Then we'll know that they're just out of gas. It was time for a regular stop. Smoke still coming out kind of at random intervals, usually after a long slowing down period. And that could be an indication of bad valve seals on the intake side. It's kind of a funny thing, or maybe it's just a leak. They certainly don't seem to be concerned about it.
Well, Greg, let's go back to the pits for another update on the problem with car number 30.
Well, they've got the front and the back off. It's basically exploratory surgery. They're not sure what's causing the problem. On the left front of the car, you can see that one of the supports for the lower under tray has got a problem. That's broken. That could have been as a result of the damage. They are trying to find out what the problem is. It's causing constant problems with the right front tire. The damage to the tire is it's going down. Some sort of problem. So basically, they're just trying to find out what the problem is, solve it. But we're going to be back with maybe the answer back here at Texas World Speedway after this.
Gary Lee, Randy Pobst, Pat Patterson, and Greg Creamer back with live coverage of the Exxon Superflo 500 from Texas World Speedway. And there you take a look at the top 5, 31 of 261 laps. James Weaver continues to lead now after passing his teammate John Paul a few laps ago. Then Paul came in for a pit stop, and we thought maybe the second Dyson car would pit shortly thereafter. It hasn't happened.
It looks like they might have brought John Paul in for reasons other than a regular pit stop. And here we see Didier Tays in the pits and the one Ferrari that's still out and running well.
Yeah, Didier had been running in the top 5 in the second Ferrari, the team car, to that of Max Pappas. So the Belgian driver will stay in the cockpit as they change the tires. But look, he's just brake. That's probably brake smoke. He's trying to get that car slowed down because of the speed limit.
Good question. It appeared to be bouncing a lot, though. Maybe these Ferraris are picking up some kind of a puncture problem in the right front. Maybe due to the extreme loading of running 195 on the high banks.
Well, you will see some of the drivers as they come off the corner and turn down to the left into the pit lane, actually get on the binders real hard once they see that 65-mile-an-hour speed limit, because they've been running, as you say, top in these world sports cars 190, 95 miles an hour. When you slow down to 65, that's like crawling. And when they see that pit sign, it's like a reminder, uh-oh, climb on the brakes, get it slowed down, because I do not want to stop and go penalty.
That is true. And the quicker you can slow down to the proper speed, the faster you get into the pits, and the better, you know, it's racing. You got to get in and out of the pits as quickly as you can.
But for the layman, it's like driving on the interstate at 70 miles an hour and you come off on an exit down to 35 miles an hour. Sometimes it's tough to get that car slowed down.
You bet. There's a corner near our house where they always knock down the turn signs because it sneaks up on you.
Rob Dyson, who normally takes a stint in one of these two cars, elected not to drive this weekend. They brought Andy Wallace in as another driver, so apparently the owner will stay on the sideline as a spectator. Let's go back to the pit lane and Pat Patterson.
Well, what we're looking at right now is a tire that came off of Didier Tays' car. It's got a vibration on the car somewhere. Not sure where it is, but we had one tire that came off the car that was shredded. We can take a look back over here. It's this one right here on the ground. They just turned that back over, but it shredded out pretty completely. There it is right there. You can see it, and obviously the vibration certainly had something to do with this guy.
We talked earlier about the marbles on the track and how slick the track was getting. We had that endurance race yesterday. We've had 2 races so far today. Obviously something else is out there to do the damage to these tires.
I've got a feeling it may have something to do with the high speeds and the high banks and the turn 1-2 complex, which is a very long corner, very high speed, where the car is loaded up heavily aerodynamically and at a high speed for a long, long time. Maybe it's too much for the right front on these Ferraris.
There's Didier Taze again, back out after the pit stop in number 66. We caught a quick glance at number 7, Elliott Forbes Robinson, and they had some transmission difficulty earlier, made a lengthy pit stop, but now EFR is back on the track in the Bobby Brown entry. We also understand that the Morgan team, Charles and Rob, made a pit stop because their radio came unplugged. They had a 10-second penalty assessed because they had too many men over the wall. So it is so easy to get assessed for a stop and go or a 10-second in the pit lane if there is a problem.
They probably had it all planned except for the guy who got out and plugged in the radio. We've done that. Is this our leader in GTS1, Irv Hare? He's in the Oldsmobile Aurora, which is an interesting car that is shaped much like the Aurora street car, uses the Aurora power plant in a highly modified racing version, but drives the rear wheels on a racing chassis.
Defending champion in this division, his co-driver is Darren Brassfield. They're going to try to get the championship for Darren this year, so we'll see Darren a little later in this competition.
How's that for teamwork? Irv Hare being willing to step down and try to get the points for Darren.
Well, of course, he is now the team manager as well as one of the drivers. Look at this, Wayne Taylor. There's the guy that qualified for the pole. He leads the points, twice a winner this season at Sebring at Daytona. Greg?
Looks like a pretty routine stop. They're going after tires and topping off the fuel. Wayne is staying in, obviously, and don't have any problems to report. Earlier we talked, as you recall, to Mark Scott, and he said, car seems fine. They're just putting in as much fuel as they possibly can. Makes it a lot easier not having to do a driver's change. Wayne can just stay put. Got a nice refreshing drink of cool, probably some sort of energy drink as well. Now they're working inside the car, just trying to adjust something. We'll try and find out what that is. The fueling is done. Now they're stopped, and they're on the way out. Randy, when he reached inside the cockpit, do you have any idea what he may have been working on?
I got a feeling what he was trying to do was a sway bar adjustment, because his crew chief told us a little while ago that they were dealing with a kind of a loose situation. But it looks like the fueling was done, so they were just sitting there dead in the water, wasting time while perhaps some adjustment was done. And I caught a glimpse of Wayne waving his hand in the air as he left. I think he was a little frustrated, because I know as a driver you hate to be sitting still when you could be going.
Another Aurora power plant. We talked about the leader in a GT1. That, of course, is the Olds with the Aurora power plant. And that obviously is becoming one of the engines of the future. We'll see that in the Indy Racing League competition next year. And here's some more comments on that power plant.
Our cars are really designed to go 500 miles, and with the configuration of the engine that we have, the good thing about the Aurora engine is that no matter what RPM you run it at, it's able to handle it.
The engine's been just bulletproof for us. It's been great, and this year, because we are an independent team versus the factory backing that we had last year, we've even sort of backed off how hard we run the engine a little, so it's going to make it even more reliable.
So far this season, that reliability has served the Bricks Racing team well, as they've scored 2 wins in the first 3 races, including 2 weeks ago at Road Atlanta. Now, wins are certainly nice, but they're only 4th in the points coming into Texas, and it's another season championship that's foremost in the team's mind.
All the focus is to score me points. Irv's new position it's really been a great thing for the team. I mean, he adds a lot to our program, and I just hope I can finally get that long-awaited championship.
It's our fault we're chasing Mr. Morgan, because we gave him the win at the Daytona 24-hour in our second car. But I think that by the end of the year we should be there.
Well, there's a look at one of the Dyson cars now making the pit stop. We can tell you that the Hare Brassfield car is leading GT1. There is James Weaver, the overall leader of the race, in for a routine pit stop. He stays in the cockpit.
Let's see how quickly he gets away. Notice as soon as the fueling's done, bang, he's gone.
There is Ross Bentley in number 43, another of those Mark III chassis. And now there is your new leader. So we can also tell you that we have a car driver change in car number 2. Nelson out and Johnny O'Connell is in as the race continues from Texas World Speedway.
Gary, I never saw you move with moves like that, buddy.
Yeah, you got to learn to dance. Those gals love guys that can dance.
I'm glad it's a dark picture because I'm back there in the corner.
Yeah, you were not there that night, and I'm sorry the camera was there that night. You know, you got to dance when you're down here in Texas.
This is the biggest state in the lower 48, and this is one heck of a big straightaway on the front straight out at Texas World Speedway as we watch Bill Auburn, and he's still leading GTS too.
Well, he right now has all he can handle with that yellow number 43 of Ross Bentley, who is leading overall right now, car number 43, and he goes by the BMW on the high side through turn 8, and they head up the banking, 22 degrees here at Texas World Speedway.
Car owner and Lee Payne has got to be real happy to see his co-driver out there leading the race in that entry. It's got an Oldsmobile power plant, but it's the 2-valve. It's like a classic American V8 power plant driving that Riley and Scott chassis. And Ross Bentley, kind of a protege of Lee Payne's. Lee, a longtime sports car enthusiast, learned how to drive cars in a TR2 Triumph years ago, and a sportsman who loves sports car racing and decided to go out there and have a good time.
This is the very slow section of the race course from turns 1 into turn 8 through the infield section. They're very, very slow, and I have to believe with the heat and the humidity, it is so thick, the atmosphere, you can literally cut it, you can feel it, that this is going to be so taxing on these drivers. There's not really a lot of time in these world sports cars to really relax, even though there's a long front straightaway.
Well, you know, the way a body cools itself is by sweating and evaporative cooling, right? You've got 100% humidity. There's not much evaporation going on out there on the track today. On the positive side, the sun still has not broken through the clouds.
New driver in the black 28 car, Andy Pilgrim, on that last pit stop jumped in, and Jeff Jones got out, so Andy Pilgrim, an endurance champion, is now in the cockpit of the black number 28.
The Jeff Jones team, they've just graduated from the IMSA Endurance Championship, where they used to be racing a Firebird the last couple of years, to the World Sports Car Competition, now powered by Chevrolet.
Let's go down to the pit lane with Pat Patterson and his co-driver.
Well, Jeff Jones just got out of the race car. I would imagine that a lot of this trash on the racetrack's coming from going through the infield. Do you think that's what's causing people some problems with some tires?
Yeah, we might have to switch over now. That tire didn't last as long as we thought it would. It was obviously a qualifying tire, but a lot of the tires are dropping up onto the track, and there's a lot of filament down. I think that's what the spin was all about.
Blake Pridgeon's in the car right now. Are you happy with so far this part of the race?
Yeah, you know, we're just trying to finish the race. Obviously, everyone knows it's 500 miles, and we can run about a 59-second lap. I think we can do that real fine. Temperatures are less than 200 right now, so that's pretty amazing for this kind of weather.
All right, down the street here is Pete Halsmer and Greg Kramer.
Thanks very much, Pat. Pete, obviously had a good start to the race, qualified second. Things were looking good. You're back behind the wall. It's pretty serious. What happened?
Well, something happened apparently with the crankshaft damper on the front of the engine, and when something happens to that locates the timing and ignition and fuel, a lot of that kind of stuff. So I'm not sure. I think it's put us out, but the guys are going to take a look at it and see if they can figure out some way to get us back in. But
what causes something like that?
No, we haven't had that kind of problem before, so we'll just have to take a look at it.
Well, remember, folks, this team led 11 of 12 hours at Sebring, so a problem like this, a rarity for the Prototype Technology Group cars.
So all the driver can do is just kind of hang around, cool off, get something cool to drink, and watch the crew go to work and see if they can get that BMW back in the race. And there, once again, back up in front on lap 46 is Ross Bentley. He continues to lead the Exxon Superflo 500 at Texas World Speedway. Well, looky here from Watkins Glen last year, Randy Pobst. In fact, yeah, they show me dancing, they show you racing. I got to talk those guys back in the truck. First time a husband-wife team wins an endurance race.
That's how Linda and I dance on the racetrack. And here I am leading Laguna Seca in a BMW M5 last year. Oh, there was nothing like 500 horsepower, and although it overheated late in the race. It was good while it lasted, just like it's good now for Ross Bentley and Lee Payne, leading in Michael Gouet's Essex Racing, Riley and Scott Oldsmobile-powered car.
That has got to be a kick to be racing with your wife as a teammate. I know what it's like to have a father-son out there as teammates, but a husband-wife, that's unusual.
I married Linda because she was into racing. That is the truth, sir. She was racing before I was, and it makes us it gives us an opportunity for something together to grow with.
She's standing over your right shoulder laughing right now with a huge smile on her face.
She's getting ready to whack me if I say something she doesn't like. That's what.
Well, here's the Dyson car. John Paul had been in that car to the pit stop, and right now he is down in the pit lane. Butch Leitzinger in the car right now, and I think we can talk to John Paul.
Yes, we certainly can. John Paul Jr., first of all, boy, great start. Got out front and led. We started to see a little bit of smoke from the car. Any problem?
I was locking the front. We turned the 2 turns to the back. That helped it. Ran super. I was having a blast here at Texas World. Second stint tires, we blistered the right front all the way around. It was a pretty bad blister. Didn't think I was going to make it around that last lap. But the car's good. We just need to be a little bit more conservative, leaning on the right front tire.
Did you change your tire compounds in this stop then, harden them up?
We changed them a little bit, see if we can make it a little bit longer stint with them.
All right, and when he talks about a couple of turns to the back, changing the brake bias more to the back to stop locking those fronts, try and save them a little bit.
You know, we're seeing many examples of cars blistering their right fronts. This is getting to be a common theme here at Texas World Speedway today. As Leitzinger brings that car back in, this can't be a scheduled stop. This is too soon. The Dyson Ford in the pits again already. In fact, this is the car we were just talking to that John Paul just got out of. So maybe there's a problem. Looks like he's coasting in. Uh-oh.
Well, let's watch the crew go to work on the Dyson entry. And Greg, let's go back and can you determine what the problem is?
We're not sure. We're not sure right at the moment. They are unbuckling the engine cover. The whole back side of the car going to pull that off. So this is not necessarily tire related or handling related unless they're trying to get to some sort of suspension components. So things are happening down here in a hurry. Leader also down in the pits, the number 43 car with Ross Bentley behind the wheel down there. And again, they're actually looking at the left rear half shaft on the number 20 car, and I think Pat's with our leader.
And we're watching this stop right now with the 43 car. Looks pretty routine. These guys are getting some fresh rubber on all 4 corners of the car. Ross Bentley stays inside. He's fidgeting a little bit with his radio plug, so they may be having a little bit of communication problem, but so far a routine stop. Now he's getting some help from the crewman. Got a bottle of water there, which everybody needs, and I think this is going to be routine. They're going to get down and away here in just a second.
Well, Ross Bentley went the distance when they ran 2 weeks ago at Road Atlanta, so he stays in the cockpit for another driving stint. He had the lead and had about a 23-second advantage at the time, but there is your new leader. The other Dyson car, the 16 car, now assumes the lead. He goes around the Elliott Forbes Robinson, Bobby Brown entry and off the banking. We're coming back with more from Texas. Well, coming up on May 13th, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, we'll have coverage of the IMSA Endurance Championship from Texas World Speedway. And I think we kind of gave it away earlier by saying who won that thing, so won't mention it right now. We'll keep you in suspense. Join us on the 13th.
You must be some at Christmas time there.
Well, there is a look at Max Pappas. Once again, the Momo Ferrari heads out of the pit lane. He is now 12 laps behind in 22nd position. So they've had all kinds of problems after that right front tire was shredded down the front straightaway, taking with it some body work.
And the problems pit stops. Did you notice he had a pylon with him? I think he took it with him from his pit stop, and it got tossed right into the middle of the track over in turn 1. So I hope that doesn't take out someone's radiator down there. I'm sure it adds some adventure.
Well, he is the driver, and that is the car that won at Road Atlanta 2 weeks ago. But let's go back now to the pit lane. Apparently another car, Greg, is out of the race.
Well, it's the number 20 Dyson racing car that we were talking about. They've now pushed it behind the wall. Butch Leitzinger behind the wheel. Butch, you're staying in. What's the problem?
Well, it looks like we broke an input shaft or possibly an axle, but something happened where I was on the banking that it just let go and no longer had any drive to the rear wheels. So looks like we'll just be sitting here and see if the crew can do something about it, and maybe we can get out and salvage some points.
Staying in the car, obviously you've got a lot of faith in the Dyson racing crew to get it back out.
Oh yeah, the boys are excellent, and I really have nothing else to do.
All right, again, points crucial there after that season-long championship of the Exxon World Sports Cars. They're not giving up.
Well, the teammate is leading once again. James Weaver now the overall leader of this Exxon Superflo 500. Obviously the banking taking its toll. There's enough downforce on those, and here is a Another stop, or this the tape
a stop and
yeah.
go. That was a penalty stop for the Pappas car, and I'll bet you it had something to do with that pylon he took with him out onto the racetrack. But he's back in it again. Funny how fortunes change. There's the offending pylon. In fact, the Dyson car just about got it right there, but it appears to be out of the way unless we get a 4 abreast entry into turn 1.
I was about to ask you about the downloading on the chassis up in the corner, up in the banking, and how much stress this is putting on the components.
You bet. Normally, it's not unusual for IMSA's World Sports Cars to get up over 190 miles an hour, but to do it on banking where you're increasing the download. The lead pain entry's back into the pits again right after a stop.
Ross Bentley back in. Now could this be a cut down tire?
Looks like they're working on the right front again, and we're seeing a lot of teams with problems with the right front. Yeah, just a quick tire change. Maybe he hit that pylon. No, probably not. But the World Sports Cars do appear to be really loading their right fronts on this Texas World Speedway course. And I think it's as much the banking as it is the very fast turn 1 and 2, where we see the lead paint entry driven by Ross Bentley now going. See those long sweeping corners? That right front is just howling the whole way through there. It's doing a lot of work to guide the car and taking a lot of heat.
Well, we're showing Bentley now in the 5th position, 1 lap down as we go back to your leader, James Weaver. Car number 16. Again, the chassis is that Riley and Scott Mark III. It's a Ford-powered entry.
The advantage that the Bentley entry has is gas mileage. They stayed out much longer before they had to make their first pit stop than the Dyson car or even Wayne Taylor's car.
Well, we simply cannot get into a rhythm today because normally you would program how many pit stops, your pit window, but now with tires being cut down and some other problems, some of these teams are way off.
Yeah, it's not a normal race, is it? As we see the Morgan entry in GTS 1, this is very similar to the car Herb Hare took to the championship last year. Charles Morgan and Rob Morgan, a father and son team, and they're out there in an Olds Cutlass, Axiom sponsored, and heading up onto the banking at Texas World Speedway. You'll see that GTS 1 cars can reach speeds often near or even perhaps sometimes better than the Exxon World Sports Cars.
Yeah, that is 22-year-old Rob Morgan. That is the son of Charles and the teammate of his father out of Conway, Arkansas, and he attends the University of Arkansas.
22 years old.
22 years of age, and they're leading the points after 3 stops. They're tied as co-drivers. Eduardo DeBost is now in 3rd position. There's your top 5 in points with the GTS1. That'd be fun to race against your dad or your son.
It certainly would. In fact, I helped my dad get on the racetrack. We always have a car for my wife Linda laying around the house, or for myself just for fun.
Laying around the house?
Oh, laying around, parked in the side yard, actually. We call that the paddock. And I put my dad through driver's school, and he did a heck of a good job.
I hope my father's not watching because he'll be wanting that for Christmas, a driving school and a race car for next season.
We're back at Texas World Speedway and down on the pit road right now. Jean-Pierre Moretti, not a good day for you guys. It just, everything seems to have gone bad. First, we'll tell you that the 43 car suffered what he believed a vibration. They came back in, rechanged tires. They've got a fresh set of rubber on, and apparently that's working. Back here with Jean-Pierre Moretti right now. A bad day for you guys. It seems like everything has gone wrong.
I believe it's not only a bad day, it's a bad weekend because with the accident that Puppies had Friday, we had to rebuild completely one car. And now we didn't have enough time to practice, and I believe that we were using not enough pressure in the tires, and this is what caused the problem to the tires. So not enough air in the tires.
Well, we wish you better luck today. Better days ahead for Jean-Pierre.
Thank you.
Tell you what, it's not over for the Ferraris yet, though, because the 66 car is just a lap down, and he's in 3rd place.
93 just took an off-track excursion there. We just caught the very tail end as he got back on the racetrack. That's Henry Taylor in 93 in a GTS 2 car. And there you can see the Ferrari leading the leader, but he's several laps back.
Maybe about to go another lap down, depending on the car. It's the 30 car, the Max Pappas car, is having a rough time, and that's the one that's down to just one headlight now. In fact, the IMSA rules require that the World Sports Cars run their headlights on.
He's about to go lap 15 down now, so he's well off the pace. And there is the Johnny O'Connell in car number 2, and we understand from our observers that the engine sounds less than healthy in that car. Craig T. Nelson started the race. Johnny O'Connell, as he told you, has a flight out of here about 6 o'clock out of Houston to get back to Indianapolis, and hopefully back in the Indy car tomorrow for trials for the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in the 80th running of the Indy 500. And he is off song, and he is obviously headed back to the pit lane if he can make it that far.
Looks like it's going to be over for them, tell you the truth.
He might catch an earlier flight.
Doesn't look like he has the momentum to coast all the way down there. In fact, Johnny O, get that car down on the apron. Thank you, sir. He knows what to do. And Craig T. Nelson, who has had a heck of a season thus far this year. That's the star of the TV show Coach. It's the same guy, folks, Craig T. Nelson. But unfortunately, the car has some kind of a problem now. We don't see smoke. It's probably not engine, but something isn't right. Let's hope he can get back to the pits, get it fixed, and get it back out there. It's a long race.
Well, obviously it's not fuel unless there's a fuel pickup problem, because he's not been out there that long since that last pit stop.
Yeah, good point. But hopefully it'll coast long enough to get back in there as we watch some GTS2 and GTS1 cars moving back onto the banking.
And there's also Wayne Taylor in the 4 car. And that is the same tire compound that they qualified yesterday. They used to qualify at Le Mans last week.
Here's the 06 BMW. That'd be the David Donahue driven car, running in 3rd place in GT2 right now. And it's one of 2 BMWs still out there going for it. The M3, a heck of a car in a heck of a battle with the Porsches. That's the Alex Job car there. That is one of the tube frame versions, a very, very trick car with a mid-engine placement, as opposed to the M3 being virtually a street car in its basic setup.
Yeah, that powder blue Porsche is, I think, the only mid-engine Porsche in this country racing right now. Hurley Haywood will drive a sister car to it at Le Mans.
Oh, well, we wish him luck. We want to see the Americans go out there and just take over Le Mans.
There's Johnny O'Connell out of Chandler, Arizona, and Pat Patterson is down there in that pit lane.
Craig, obviously something wrong with the car. You got any clue? I'm sorry, you got any clue as to what it might be? Craig's watching his car right now. Johnny just brought the car in. I'm sorry. Do you got any idea what went wrong with the car?
No, we just got a misfire on the top end. I noticed it towards the end of my stint. We're not sure what it is. Could be a plug wire. Hopefully it's something real simple.
All right, Craig T. Nelson sits back and waits to see exactly what is wrong with the car, guys.
Screaming Eagle Racing. Craig T. is taking his racing very seriously. So often a movie star will get introduced to racing through a celebrity race. They have the money, they have the interest, they buy a ride, they buy into a ride, and they race for a while. This guy is taking it so seriously. He's gone to driving schools. He has a certain period of time that he wants to prepare himself to be a top echelon driver, just like a Paul Newman has done during his career.
I've watched Craig over the last couple of years, and in fact, I think he did get introduced to racing through a celebrity race, as he's turned into more and more of a real racer. And in fact, I was real impressed with his performance in the first stint in that car with the Ford Power. And let's hope they can get that thing back on the road, back in the race.
Well, the Momo Ferrari, some 15 laps down to the leader, back in the pit lane, and Henry Taleb also is being pushed by the crew. Looks like they're trying to refire that car.
Boy, a change of fortunes for them. They were the winner just last race 2 weeks ago at Road Atlanta. And now Will Pace just into the car. Will well up into the
points. He finally got it. Finally got it fired up. Jim Pace's brother, and took a long push by the crew to get that car going.
That was lucky too, because the crew, I think, was about spent. They weren't going to get a whole lap in.
They're backup drivers, but not backup crew members.
This Nissan is a tube frame car. As we move on to one of the Dyson cars up front, that was the James Weaver car. You know, we didn't see a lot of driver changes on the first fuel stops in these world sports cars, and I think that's due to the fact that the sun has never yet broken through these clouds. So we have high humidity, but we don't have the kind of track temperature that we were expecting.
But if the sun does break through, this track will certainly change and get even that much more slippery. So We're coming back. There's the coach. Live coverage of the Exxon Superflo 500 from Texas World Speedway, and there is James Weaver leading right now in the Dyson car. Weaver was the runner-up in the World Sports Car standings last year, lost the title by only 2 points to Fermin Valles. And of course, Valles has gone on now to run some Indy cars, and he's at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway during the month of May, preparing for the 80th running.
It's good news for the Ford out in front, and it turns out another Ford, the Craig T. Nelson entry we saw just before, was nothing more than an ignition wire, just like he had hoped. They've got it fixed. Johnny O'Connell's taking the car right back out on the track as we watch James Weaver into his second stint, moving through the tight section of the course, stuck up behind a GTS1 car, the Oldsmobile Aurora. I mentioned it that way because the World Sports Car's big advantage over the GT category cars is that they handle a lot better. They're a lot lighter. They've got a wing on them. They've got a body that's shaped for downforce, but they can almost match the GTS1 cars in top speed as we see them going down the banking.
Weaver has been racing with IMSA since '86. He has some 10 wins, 6 in the World Sports Cars and 4 in the other GTP class from a few years ago.
He's quite an endurance driver, James Weaver, and the thing about endurance driving is
that is Jerry Jackson, who just took over the number 66 Ferrari. Didier Tay started the race, and he is hung up on the berm.
That may cause a full course yellow to pull him off of there, or maybe they'll try to do it locally. We'll see what Chief Steward Marty decides to do.
Well, he'd only been on the track. We're showing Didier Tays, but actually Didier had climbed out during that last pit stop, and Jerry Jackson climbed in. Let's see if we can see what happens.
Jerry Jackson entering the course. He's done Ferrari Challenge racing. He's the owner of that car. He's just lost it on the way in. And, you know, it's kind of tough to get your mind up to speed when you're first heading onto the racetrack. Jerry lets the car roll off the course. I think he's just trying to get out of the way. Doesn't realize with no ground clearance, he could end up hung up. In fact, the name of Jerry's team is Land Shark Racing, and that's kind of what he looks like right now, huh? A land shark, a beached whale. Oh, no.
And the crew is saying, I can't believe what he just did.
Jerry, come on. Did you see him twisting that wing, trying to push that car forward? Imagine what one of those Ferrari wings costs. Easy there.
Well, there's Didier Tays right there shaking his head. He's recuperating after his stint.
My old friend Cheech Yamaguchi, the Yokohama Tire representative. Okay, the stalwart workers who are always there kind of behind the scenes finally get there and push the Ferrari back on the road to get Jerry going again.
How much you figure that car's worth total?
That's $1 million car. So that wing's got to be a good 50 or 60 thou right there. Probably
keep your hands off of it.
Yeah, but it can take it because those wings, you know, they generate hundreds of pounds of downforce, but they're not meant to be twisted. It's just.
You talked about coming up to speed after taking over. How many laps would it take you to really come up to your rhythm?
Gary, different drivers have a different amount of time necessary for that. Jerry Jackson, he's actually a less experienced racing driver, and so for him it probably takes him a little longer to get the brain up to the kind of speeds that these Exxon World Sports cars will run.
Glimpse there of Didier Tays resting after his driving stint, and there is James Weaver. We understand that the 26 Porsche has pitted, and Tom Hessert has gotten out. Hurley Haywood is back in.
And we've got James Weaver still driving away in the lead in the Ford Riley and Scott chassis Exxon World Sports car. This is a long race, and the key, one of the things that Weaver, as a many-time winner in endurance racing, can do is go as fast as you can go with the car, run it as hard as you can, knowing you're not going to hurt anything, that you're not going to touch another car, that you're not going to over-rev it. Weaver's good at this, and that's part of his plan. But, you know, let's not count out Wayne Taylor, Jim Pace. They're back there. They're biding their time. They're only 44 seconds back. We've got hundreds of miles left to run and a lot of racing to go. And, gosh, with just the slightest moment, anything can change.
You can see how rough that is coming off that banking. Oh, a problem there. David Donahue.
Donahue's got it sideways. He's knocked over one of the turn markers. I hope nobody picks that up. It'll put a hole right through the radiator. Let's hope that's just a simple spin and he can get it going.
On the track. I think he's off in one of the runoff areas.
That may well be. Yep.
Yeah, he's in the runoff area.
That's where he
simply missed that turn and drove off the racetrack.
I guess so.
So his teammate has parked the other BMW behind the pit wall. And of course, David had a good ride going at Road Atlanta until he crashed.
Looks like they were just about to bring that car in for a pit stop because they had the fuel hose ready and everything. So David's going to have a little explaining to do as he comes in, but we don't know. Maybe somebody put him out there. David's a fine driver, and that's probably what it was. Right, Dave?
Hey, looky there. There's Hurley.
Hurley Haywood. In the mid-engine Alex Job Racing Porsche. This is a pure, built from the ground up racing chassis here. And in IMSA GTS2 Racing Some of the cars are based on a street car called the Unibody. Some are a pure race car with a tube frame chassis built from the ground up. This is perhaps one of the most sophisticated cars in the GTS2 class. Hurley, one of the most experienced drivers in that class, winner of many Rolex 24s, etc.
Well, of course, Hurley was with us just about 10 days ago as a presenter for the International Motorsports Hall of Fame. And it's certainly an honor to be in the hall, but also an honor to be a presenter for those going into the hall. Ferdinand Porsche was given the honor of being inducted into the hall, and Hurley was his presenter just about 10 days ago at the Hall of Fame in Talladega. There's a look at Jeff Gordon, the 1995 Driver of the Year. Bobby Isaac went in the hall.
The Plymouth Superbirds.
Don Healy also went in as an inductee.
The Bonneville Salt Flats.
There's Richie Evans in car number 61.
Is that you, Gary Lee, behind him?
No.
Oh, there you are, Gary.
That's me. That's Ford M. Porsche right there. John Surtees, a champion on 2 wheels and a world champion on 4 wheels.
When men were men.
And Johnny Rutherford, Lone Star JR. Of course, he's a 3-time winner of the Indianapolis 500.
And now the best darn pace car driver you'll ever want to meet.
What a great night we had at the International Motorsports Hall of Fame induction ceremony. And of course, that will be coming your way on Wednesday, May the 8th at 8:30 on Speedvision. So we certainly hope that you will join us for that. We had a great time that evening with a lot of the legends of the sport of auto racing. We take a look now at the top 5, 76 of 261 laps now in, and James Weaver continues to set the pace. Wayne Taylor now up to second. Ross Bentley going the distance right now in the third position, car 43. Mandeville is now up to fourth, and Irv Hare is in fifth, but first in his class GTS1. So your defending champion in that series now leading that division.
Keep an eye on Roger Mandeville. He's a sly dog. He knows how to build a race car that will last. I was talking with his crew chief, Dan Ropes, and maybe they can reel in this leading Dyson car. I think James Weaver's still at the wheel. And you know what? I just heard you mention it's 76 out of 261 laps. We're early in the race. It is amazing what an endurance event one of these races is.
We just caught a glimpse of James Weaver headed for the pit lane. So James Weaver, this is not a routine stop.
He's throwing the belts off.
And we're going to have a driver change.
Oh, he's just getting ready for that driver change.
Well, but still it seems, well, maybe they are back on.
They look happy. He forgot the cool suit. You know, there's so much to unplug when you're getting out. You forget one thing, and it feels like you're a dog and somebody's yanking your chain.
Well, I saw the car move just a bit side for side as it came in. I thought that was a mechanical problem. What it was, he was taking the belts off and moved the steering wheel slightly.
You got it. He was getting ready to pop out of that car in a hurry because the driver change can actually be the slowest part of one of these pit stops. They got a lot of equipment to hook up there, radios, cool suits, breathing apparatus, and you've got to get the belts tight. And that's a responsibility as the drivers change. They've done a good job.
As we do a driver change in the pit stop, that will give the lead to Wayne Taylor. So car number 4, the car that won the pole position, will now once again lead this race.
He's been kind of quietly loping along back there, hasn't he? He hasn't been out front, but he's been keeping right on the pace and in the race.
Could this be the case of letting the race come back to him? He's not charging early, he's setting his own pace, and now all of a sudden with pit stops, he's back out in front.
You know, it's a little bit of two things. One is just that. Wayne knows to go quickly, but not too quickly to cause problems. Number 2, it's just the normal sequence of pit stops. When everybody's running right, you have an overall or a leader come in for stops. Maybe the second place car doesn't need gas quite yet, so he goes into the lead for a while. Then when he stops, you switch again. This is my buddy Roger Mandeville. Crew chief Dan Robeson was filling me in on that car. Used to run a Mazda rotary, but the car was allowed to be so light by IMSA that they couldn't find a tire that would work in such a light weight. So they went to a Chevy V8, and the Henry Camford M Mandeville entry, it's the kind of car that just keeps running, keeps running.
You mentioned Camford M, of course, out of Indianapolis. He's one of the owners that bought into IMSA, as we talked about a couple of weeks ago from Atlanta. And here is your leader, and Greg Kramer is down there in the pits.
Wayne Taylor hits the marks, and already, as you gentlemen have been pointing out, he had the belts undone. By the time he stopped, he was almost standing up. You just saw him pull out that big seat insert. Jim Pace is a few inches taller than Wayne, a little bit more husky in terms of build, so they have a very special insert that Wayne runs. They pop that out. The seat underneath it is made for Jim. Jim is in. They're already hooking up. Now, Randy, you were talking about cool suit attachments in the Dyson car. Neither Wayne nor Jim are running a cool suit. They feel that improves the speed of that driver change in the pit stop. It's going very right now, otherwise very routine. They've gone after the tires. They're topping out the fuel. That's done. And you can see if they were dealing with cool suit hoses, it would have been even longer. As it is, they're down. They're away. Oh, Jim almost stalled it, kept it alive. He's gone.
That's what you call teamwork, when you have enough room in the cockpit for the team driver to stand in there and buckle up his teammate.
Wasn't that interesting? It's a result of two things. One, the world sports cars are actually designed to be two-passenger cars. Now, they don't take passengers just yet, but I think it would do a heck of a lot for attendance, don't you? And so Wayne Taylor could actually stay in the car standing next to the driver's seat and get Jim Pace buckled in there really tight, maybe because Pace crashed once before in practice this weekend. He's trying to keep his buddy safe. I don't know, but Jim Pace coming on the track, he's doing just what we were just talking about. He's getting his brain up to speed. He's saying, okay, I'm driving here, I turn here, etc.
Watching Andy Wallace, who has taken over the lead car, number 16. So Andy Wallace now, who will be headed off to Le Mans, France in the middle of June for that 24-hour grind over there. But he now has the lead. That car came in, made a pit stop, and after shuffling drivers and shuffling pit stops for the other cars, right back up in front. So once again, we'll have live coverage with the start of the race at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time on June the 15th, and then periodic reports throughout the 24-hour period.
We're going to look in on that and see how the Americans do, because this is the year for the Americans at Le Mans. Wayne looks like he's been working hard.
Yeah, Wayne Taylor is very, very tired. As we heard, he was not utilizing the cool suit, and right now he might be thinking, you know, I should have had one.
Maybe it wouldn't be such a bad idea. On the other hand, the main element is speed, and Wayne's the kind of guy, in fact, race driving in general is the kind of thing where you can concentrate until you hop out of the car, and then the adrenaline goes away, and you
then you realize how tired you really are, and the legs kind of give out from under you. But right now, he has a chance to rest as his crew member and teammate is on the track, and our live coverage continues from Texas World Speedway. A hot, humid day in the heart of Texas as we bring you live coverage of the Exxon Superflo 500. There is the GTS leader, car number 1. That is Irv Hare and Darren Brassfield teaming up. Irv, the defending champion of this class, and his teammate Brassfield going after the championship this season.
They're in that Olds Aurora. That's kind of a two-door version of the Aurora you see driving out on the street. The engine, a multi-valve V8, is very similar to the one in the street car. And they're clear up into the top 5 now among the world sports cars. Not real surprising because Texas has more than half the track is a long straightaway. Exxon Supreme GTS 1 cars run strong down those straightaways. They're very aerodynamic. And in fact, this class also using the body shapes of street cars. This is a two-door version that IMSA has allowed of the Oldsmobile Aurora, which is a very aerodynamic body shape. They've run almost a flawless race thus far. We've seen very little trouble out of the Hare and Brassfield entry, and that's the Bricks Racing team, a very professional effort.
We've talked a lot about the heat and humidity today. We've set record high temperatures around the state of Texas over this past 2 or 3 day period. And right now, when you're talking about these open cockpit cars, there's a little more air in there, but with the closed cockpit, it gets really hot. I think James Weaver is ready to talk to us now, guys.
Well, indeed, out of the car, James, a great opening couple of stints. You led handily, taking advantage of problems for the Ferraris and some of the competitors. How's it going?
The car's absolutely flying. It's very, very hot out here, and it's turned into a tyre race, and the Goodyear tyre is just so much better than anything else that, you know, at the moment, we're looking really good.
Quick question for you. We've seen some of the drivers getting out of the cars looking pretty beat. You alluded to the heat out there. Not many of you are running cool suits. Why?
That's a very good question. I asked myself that. We used to run them in the GTP cars, and then we went away, but these cars are just as hot because you breathe the hot air out of the radiator. So I think I'll put that on my wish list for the next race.
All right, we might see a little retooling in the Dyson crew for the driver's comfort.
Well, obviously, the temperature today forecast for up around 90 degrees, very high humidity as well, so it could be a little oppressive for these drivers in all these cars. Texas World Speedway been around for a while, but now it's kind of being resurrected. Michigan International was the first track Larry Lopatin built. A year later, he used the same blueprints to construct Texas World Speedway, about a 2-hour drive north of Houston. The first race involved Can-Am cars back in November of 1969. It was won by Bruce McLaren. A month later, Bobby Isaac won the first Winston Cup event. But over the years, Richard Petty, not surprisingly, enjoyed the most success of any stock car driver. King Richard won 3 times in 8 events. Benny Parsons, however, won the final Winston Cup race back in 1981. Al Unser may have made history by becoming the first IndyCar winner here at Texas World, but people still talk about the speed with which those cars got around the 22-degree banking. In October of 1973, Gary Bettenhausen won a 200-miler with an average speed of nearly 182 miles an hour. In qualifying, Mario Andretti set a closed course speed record of 214.158 miles per hour. That stood for nearly a year until A.J. Foyt took his own Foyt Coyote chassis around the Talladega high banks at a speed of 217.8 miles an hour. Foyt, by the way, won the last IndyCar race ever held at Texas World Speedway back in July of 1979. In the mid to late 80s, there was no major league type of racing here. Instead, the track played host to Texas Independent Drivers Association late models, as well as amateur SCCA road racing events, while falling into disrepair. In January of 1991, Texas World was purchased by the Ishin Speed Sport Corporation, and millions of dollars were spent refurbishing the facilities and repaving both the oval and the road course. The Speedway went up for auction in 1994, but no bid was high enough, leaving the track once again in President Dick Knoll's hands. Last year, IMSA returned to the high banks for the first time since 1971, with Wayne Taylor winning in the Momo Ferrari. Here this afternoon, not in the Ferrari though. He is in the Mark III Olds Aurora, and he well could be in victory lane before this race is over.
We got a tight battle.
Our live coverage continues from Texas World Speedway. Here at one point was the leader of the GT2 class, Matthew Cohen, now in the cockpit of car number 77. A routine stop, but he's falling back on the lead serial.
And they've changed drivers. That's very strange. Maybe that spin that they had caused them a bit of a problem.
A little off-course excursion only a few laps ago.
That looks like the turn 1, turn 2 area of the course, which is a very high-speed part of the track, but fortunately, nothing to hit. You can slide out there and then just get back right on the road.
You can see the door is open, so apparently they are making a driver change. Bill Auberlen started that race.
It's possible they may try to use one of the drivers from the BMW that had the engine problem earlier on. Of the 07 car, M3 is back in the race, but it won't be finishing as well as the other GTS2 cars. Here's my buddy, Court Wagner, and his the Richard Ramis Porsche 911. They were leading. They're making just a routine stop here, I'd say, with a driver change. And, you know, being close personal friends of mine, I'd like to see them run well.
Well, we saw Wayne Taylor just totally worn out when he climbed out of that race car. I think he's caught a second win, and he's standing by with Greg Creamer.
Wayne Taylor, obviously out of the car, had a moment to regroup and catch your breath a little bit. First of all, it's warm out there. How's it going? I know you're not running a cool suit. Are you dealing with it okay?
It's very, very hot out there. We were getting a lot of heat in the cockpit. I was going to do 3 stints, but I was too hot, so we're in a good position. You know, we're second. We're having a balance problem in the infield, you know, through lack of testing this weekend because of the accident. We're blistering rear tires, so we're running a very conservative pace and just hanging on to second at the moment.
Well, you certainly showed earlier in the season at Daytona and Sebring the ability of this team to go long distances and to be able to plan ahead for it, banking on that.
Yes, I am. We also proved that we have the fastest car out there by getting the pole this weekend.
But this race is going to be a race of attrition, and we really have to nurse our tires this weekend.
All right, Wayne certainly up to the task, and down on the other end of the pit, some information from Pat.
Roger Mandeville sits here after getting out of the car. You guys had a tough weekend. You started this thing all wrong by getting crashed up yesterday and then starting at the rear of the field, but things look to be turning out the way you want them to.
Yes, we're running well. So far the car's doing well. We sort of started in the second group of the most injured people. Some of the guys had to go home. We were able to get back on the racetrack. Right now, it's running as well as it has run this week.
What about the racetrack itself? Greasy, a lot of trash. The wind's really blowing out here.
The wind is not bad. The track is starting to break up a little bit. Maybe that's the wrong term, but there's a few marbles starting to float around. It's getting a little strippier out there.
Well, I'm not going to pick on you how old you are, but it's good to sit down after you get out of these cars, right?
Yes, especially when the sun came out. I was anxious for it to be over.
All right, Roger Mandeville.
Well, we'll say he's 54, in excellent shape. He owns a company that designs and builds race cars, and over the years won some 20 events in IMSA competition. So we'll see him back in the car before the race is over.
He mentioned exactly why the track is feeling more slippery. The sun came out. You know, we've been looking for it. We knew it's already hot and humid, but just about 15 minutes ago, the sun started to break through. These guys thought it was hot before. That's nothing compared to that Texas sun.
I want to go back to the comment that Wayne Taylor made about the heat in the car. He was going to drive 3 stints, that he was too tired, had to come in. Really, even though it's an open cockpit car, with the engine, you would think much of the heat behind the driver, even the open cockpit's not able to keep these guys comfortable.
Well, you know what? Most of these cars carry their radiators in the front. So they're still getting the heat across the driver, whereas many of the GTP designs did not. Part of the reason for that is that IMSA, in designing the World Sports Car formula, mandated the driver be carried further back. This side shot of Roger Mandeville's car is a good example of that. The driver is located further back than he used to be for better crash protection in the front, more crumple zone. That necessitated moving some equipment in the car further forward, like the radiators. Good thing is you get direct airflow. Bad thing is it makes the cockpit hotter for the drivers.
Looking now at your leader, Andy Wallace, now in the lead car. He is working on lap 95 of 261 scheduled. However, there is a 5-hour time limit, so should we have a yellow of any length, obviously the clock could stop the race instead of the actual 261 laps.
We like this track as drivers because there's not a lot to hit. As we watch the 07 BMW, which is back in the race, and this is the Schumacher Pilgrim Porsche, which has been running well the whole race. They could very well be the winners. They were on the pole. This 911, driven by Andy Pilgrim and Larry Schumacher. Both
Schumacher's in the car right now.
Schumacher, a heck of a driver. He's the car owner, and he has a good balance between car owner and driver speed.
Look at that. Pete Halsmer, we talked with Pete earlier. He now is in the 77 car. He had not been scheduled to drive that car today, but he parked the 06 car early because of some problems. The 06 car is back on the track now, but Halsmer now behind the steering wheel of 77. So, you know, when you have all these team drivers, you got to plug them in wherever you need them, whenever you need them. So our live coverage continues from Texas World Speedway. Live motorsports coverage on Speedvision, and right there is a great shot of turn 4 on the 2-mile high bank Texas World Speedway. We're only using a part, though, of this 2-mile bank track. We're using the infield road section, making it a 1.9-mile course. And there's a look at Andy Wallace, who remains out in front. There's a look at the 66 car with Jerry. I think Jerry Jackson is back in the cockpit of that. He's teaming with Didier Tays, and we understand that car has just been black flag for a penalty.
Uh-oh, another screw up in the pits, I guess, huh? Or maybe it's for hanging on the curb too long and they're going to charge him for repainting.
It's a parking toll.
Perhaps, but a little kidding there, Jerry. Please take it easy on me, okay, Calvin?
Randy Pobst said that, Jerry. I didn't.
And there's Dave Murray's car that he shares with Lloyd Hawkins. They've got the rear deck lid up. That's never a good sign. This car led Road Atlanta for a long time, a Porsche 968 with a turbo engine.
Dave Murray is another driver that is looking to the Indy Racing League and indicated to us this weekend that he hoped to go back to Indianapolis yet this month. and perhaps after the first weekend of qualifying, get some laps on the big oval.
Maybe these guys should just charter a bus, because there's about 5 or 6 drivers going straight from here to Indy to try to get a ride with the IRL.
Well, they're not missing much action right now because it got rained out yesterday. The cars never got on the racetrack, and the forecast is for more showers and thunderstorms today back in the Midwest.
The forecast here getting hotter and hotter. We can begin to see some heat waves rising from the track because that sun is coming out, and it's still a little misty. I think the heat is going to be more and more a factor.
It's the heat index, a combination of the ambient air temperature and the humidity.
Weather Channel. Real Weather Channel potential for you, Gary.
Jeff Berner in car number 67.
Porsche 911.
Actually, Coker is in the car. Jeff Berner started. This car was involved in a nasty altercation during a practice on Friday. Coker actually came off the racetrack and made contact with a couple of cars in the pit lane, injuring one of the crew members and knocking out a car out of the entire. In fact, 2 cars. Scott Schubert's car was scratched for the weekend. A couple of cars scratched because of that altercation.
You figure you'd be safe sitting there on pit lane. But occasionally a car has a problem, especially it's tricky entering the pits here. You're up to a high rate of speed. As you mentioned earlier, you drop down off the banking onto a level pavement, and the car is upset for a moment. And the Porsche just kind of lost control, trying to get it down to 65.
Well, he admitted that he made a late decision to turn into the pits. Came off that banking, unsettled the chassis, and just lost control.
Racing's like life. Gary, you've got to plan ahead.
We certainly wish well those drivers, the crew members, and those individuals injured in several altercations, not just here at the racetrack, but we talked about the Eduardo Debo's crew that was involved in that just tremendous impact on a traffic accident. We wish those crew members well in their recovery, and certainly we anticipate a full recovery for all those drivers and the crew members involved.
Out on the highway is more dangerous in many ways than driving in one of these races. I've said that many times. I got a greater risk of being hurt when I'm driving home from the race. As we look at the 77 BMW, now driven by Pete Halsmer. BMW M3s and Porsche 911s really duking it out in the GTS2 category today.
And Bill Oberlin, who started this race in this car, is standing by with Greg Creamer.
And Gary, if you recall, Bill started basically at the back of the pack due to a 1 lap out in qualifying, no time to speak of. Bill, you absolutely flogged that car and took it to the class lead. A great run early on.
Well, I tell you, now I know what I had to run against all last year. This BMW is running absolutely terrific. It has Yokohama tires, which from the beginning to the end, the lap times were over and over perfect, right on the money. Or I don't know about perfect, but they stayed the same, right? The crew was doing a fantastic job. They worked hard all through the night. It seems like yesterday I was plagued with braking stuff. You know, I broke the differential and I hurt the motor, and you know, now they said if I break something else, they're gonna break me. The car's running great. Pete's in the car. He's out there keeping it up, and hopefully we'll bring it home in the lead.
Now, heat has been such a factor today. When you came into the pits, you took off, let's move over here and take a look at it. You took off a full face helmet, you headed back to the team transporter and ended up grabbing an open face. How bad is it out there, especially inside those closed cockpit cars?
Well, the closed cockpit car with the engine in the front obviously has the heat coming in. They got it all sealed up with windows so none of the heat can get out. Well, wanted to look cool, so I had the full face one on. Now I want to stay cool, so I'll put the open face one on.
And they seal those windows up, aerodynamics. You get air inside that car, it slows you down on a long high bank like this.
And you saw a glimpse there in the background of David Donahue, who was also in the pit lane.
Here's an interesting story. Pete Halsmer was telling me just yesterday how great the ABS on these BMWs is. Probably the last driver in the car chose to turn it off. ABS is anti-lock braking. It keeps the wheels from being able to lock. That's a bad thing in racing, because when a tire locks under heavy braking, it'll flat spot the tire. It'll no longer be round, and it'll tend to want to stop on that spot over and over and over till you ruin it. Halsmer may not have realized that the anti-lock braking was turned off. It's driver switchable, because some drivers like it, some don't.
There's car 91, Pat.
Yeah, Roger Schramm sitting in the car right now. They did a driver change not long ago. Stu Hayner got out of the car. What they've done now is got fresh rubber on all the sides. They'll also take on a load of fuel. I have a sneaky feeling that he thought a tire was going down. That's the reason they came in for the stop. Also, keep your eyes open just a few minutes. Johnny O'Connell should bring the Screaming Eagles car, which is back running real strong right now, in for a driver change. Dan Clark will be getting in. We'll stay here and keep an eye on that for you.
So O'Connell right now being shown in 5th position.
The 07
There's
car
the 07
running
back
again.
on the racetrack.
They must have stuck a new crankshaft dampener on it. Got that BMW M3 back on the track. The M3 is running, you know, in the neighborhood of 300 pounds heavier than the Porsche because they're based so closely on a street car. And they make maybe 380, 400 horsepower. And I think it's the M3's motor that's making it competitive with the 911s.
Johnny O'Connell out of Chandler, Arizona. He is anticipated to be in the pits in the next lap or two in the Screaming Eagle entry. Of course, teaming with Coach Craig T. Nelson and Dan Clark. So we'll come back to hopefully cover that pit stop coming up momentarily. There is a look live at the number 26 Porsche of Hurley Haywood. He was 5th in class and 15th overall, and we'll go back on tape and show you what happened just minutes ago as apparently something broke and he just simply pulled off course.
Hurley, an experienced driver, knows that if something goes awry, get that thing out of the way. So he just pulled it gently off the side of the road, and hopefully they can figure out what's wrong with it and get it back to the pits and get it repaired. This Alex Job Racing Cherry Hill Classics cars Porsche owned by Tom Hessert. Very sophisticated racing machine. Somewhere inside that machine, something's gone awry.
That is the mid-engine Porsche, the only one apparently that we have racing in this country. As we take a look now at the top 10, once again, Andy Wallace continues to set the pace in number 16. Jim Pace, the co-driver with Wayne Taylor, now in 2nd position, car number 4. Anthony Lazzaro is now in the 3rd spot. He has taken over for the number 43 car that Ross Bentley started. Herb Hare now leading his class in his 4th overall. Scott Schubot now in the number 8 car, and he is 5th overall. There is Craig T. Nelson. He is in the pit lane, actually not in the car right now. Jerry Jackson is 7th. Blake Pridgeon is now 8th. Charles Morgan in a GTS 1 car is 9th, and Roger Schramm is 10th. But Roger was just brought back in for a stop and go penalty because he broke the speed limit of 65 miles an hour in the pit lane.
Don't you hate being in a road race and having a speeding ticket? You'd think you'd be safe, right?
There's the 95 car, apparently a broken valve spring and rocker arm, and so Barry Waddell from Evansville, Indiana, and Thomas Volk out of Ohio pushed that car behind the pit wall and apparently back to the hauler, so the day is done.
Back to the showers.
Yeah.
But out in front, the Dyson car has got a 2-lap lead now on Wayne Taylor.
Let's go to Pat Patterson and see if we can find out exactly what happened to car number 95. Pat?
Well, this is the interview you don't like to do. Tom, tough luck for you guys this afternoon. What happened to the car?
Thanks. We had a good race going. Going through our first 2 stints well. I just climbed in, everything was going, and we just lost 2 valve springs and a rocker in the motor.
This place is pretty tough on motors. You got to have one that'll last 4.5 hours.
Well, we thought we did. Just bad luck, one of those racing deals, but it is pretty hard on everything. A lot of G-forces in the turns there on the equipment, and the motors better be pulling strong.
Better luck next time.
Thank you very much.
He owns a couple of automotive distribution centers. In fact, he sells muffler and exhaust systems out of a shop in Indianapolis, although he resides in Toledo, Ohio. There is a look again. Your leader, the Dyson entry.
Would that be Jim Pace? Oh, he's driving the Taylor car in 2nd place.
That's Wallace in the 16 car that is leading. Pace is in car number 4. He is in 2nd position. You caught a glimpse of Lazzaro there in Anthony in the number 43 car that had been started with
Andy Wallace out there, an experienced driver just like James Weaver, an Englishman, a heck of a competitor, and has finished well Le Mans many times. He's the kind of driver that Rob Dyson wanted because they were dying for a win. It's been a while since they put that Ford Riley Scott chassis into the winner's circle. They've been leading so far today, but we've got a lot of race left.
They go by the Morgan car, the Charles and Rob Morgan entry.
They're up to 2nd in GTS 1 now in that Olds Cutlass. Slamming down into turn 1. Andy Wallace using the whole road. In my little Honda Prelude, I do that corner at about 90. So these world sports cars have got to be running 110, 120 through there before they drop into the tighter section of the course.
And hard-braking downshifting from 195 miles an hour on the front straightaway.
Bet. You bet.
So Wallace continues to show the way, tucked in behind a slower car through the S's. Partly cloudy skies here in the heart of Texas from Texas World Speedway. Well, there is the number 2 car on the racetrack, and of course that is a car that's co-driven by Craig T. Nelson. Nelson, I believe, is still in the pit, so does not look like Craig T's helmet. I think that could is that the helmet of Johnny O'Connell? I think that's Johnny O'Connell's helmet.
Out there right now.
Clark had been using a blue and white helmet with a gold stripe, so not sure we'll find out, but Andy Wallace continues to lead. Jim Pace runs in 2nd position, and that is O'Connell. That is Johnny O'Connell in that car. As once again we take a look up in front, the number 16 car. Rob Dyson normally, as we said earlier, runs the car, but he has elected not to drive. And here is your number 1 car. Herb Hare heads for the pit lane. Greg Creamer, you're down there.
And he pulls it in, puts it right on the mark. They are doing a driver change up there in Brassville. Got a foot caught in an air hose. However, that is not a major deal. He got over that, no problem. Herb out quickly. Darren hopping in. And when you see him pull those tires off with those air wrenches, you see an explosion of dust. That's brake dust. They use the brakes, and that dust just gathers inside the wheel. And that's what you see when they do that. They have got the wheels done. Herb leaning in, working with Darren to help with that driver's change. Herb had radioed in that the car is working great. They're running a very conservative pace on medium compound tires in terms of softness, so they're just trying to stay in the hunt. Obviously doing a nice job out front, topping off fuel. Look at that driver's change, already completed to the point that they've got the window net up. Darren buckles in and snaps the wheel on. It's a quick release wheel. That certainly helps in terms of speed for the driver's changes. Fuel's in, it's down. Oh, now they're away. Good stop once again.
Except for almost killing the engine, that was a very, very well done stop. The driver change was completed before they had the car fueled off.
And here's some bad news for the Roger Mandeville car and Henry Camphordam. There's a kind of a serious looking oil plume rising from that car. Dan Robeson, crew chief, looking in there, and they're not in any big hurry, so it looks serious.
Scott Schubert in the cockpit. He was added to this car over the weekend after his car was damaged in that pit altercation on Friday and had to be scratched for the weekend, so it does not look too promising right now.
How about that for bad luck? First, his car's sitting peacefully in the pits and somebody spins off the racetrack and hits him, and then he gets in another car and it expires. That's just a shame. Mandeville's forte is building a car that'll keep running, so this is real unusual for them.
Let's go back to the pit lane and Pat Patterson.
Well, the father-son duo of Morgan and Morgan are doing pretty good today. Rob, you started the car. Your dad's out in there now. You guys are up there where you want to be. How's the car?
The car's doing great. The car's running real well. We had a little problem there at the beginning. I was drinking my water and had my hose and tried to put it back up on we got a little thing up there that we stick it on. Pulled my earpiece out and I couldn't hear, so we had to come in, put that back in. So that put us down a little bit. Now I think we're 3 laps down from first place and 2 laps down from second. But the car's running great. So we'll be there at the end.
And your tire wear's been decent. Your tire wear's been decent today.
Yeah, it's been pretty well. Pirelli tires are great. I mean, they're great tires for qualifying, great tires for the race, and they're staying with us. They're doing real well.
All right, well, one of the guys that they're trying to catch is down right now with Greg Creamer, Irv Hare.
Talk about doing real well, Irv. Boy, you guys, since just a few laps into this thing, have been in control at the front. And Darren has indicated that you're running a fairly conservative tire, and it's working real well.
Yeah, I think we definitely picked the right tire for the race. You know, it's borderline, and I think the other guys qualified on softer tires than we did, so they're probably hurting a little more halfway through the run than we are. We're blistering our right sides, but the car still, at the pace we're running it at, is okay on them.
All right, nice job. We understand the number 16 car is in, and he is heading out, as a matter of fact. Andy Wallace behind the wheel of the number 16 car taking it out. That was a very quick stop for our overall leader and a good stop for GT1. They've got it dialed down to an art.
Service only, no driver change for number 16.
Andy Wallace doing a great job in that Dyson car, and we got to give credit to the team, but let's not start tallying the results just yet. There's a lot of race left, and it's amazing how long a 500-mile event is.
Well, this has been the dominant car so far, leading now at lap 116 at Texas World Speedway. Here now is a look live at your top 5. Andy Wallace made the pit stop for service, but no driver change. He continues to lead. Jim Pace is expected to make a pit stop here in the next couple of laps for service, and I'm not sure if Jim will stay on board or if he'll get out and give way to Wayne Taylor. There's Johnny O'Connell. Now Johnny runs, I think, in the 5th spot right now, but earlier we had a chance to talk to his co-drivers about how they set the car up and get the engine to work on this particular creation.
I didn't talk to any of the guys coming in. I didn't hear, you know, so I don't know what's happening on the back. Be careful. Have a good time, man. Is that too tight?
Did you ride this morning?
Yeah, we did it. Yeah. Well, we got 3rd quickest, you know. So, you know, it was fine.
Need some wheels like those. Those are cool.
Yeah, they are cool. Now it's raining.
Yeah, this is just as bad around the back on slicks, on cold slicks. This ain't getting any better.
Right.
I mean, if it's going to rain, it's going to rain.
Now it's raining. Good call, man. Way to go.
Raining hard in turn 6.
Yeah. That's exactly where it... Why does it do it back there? It's unbelievable. It's probably a thunderstorm back there.
Quite good in the wet, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
So let's see where the car's
I don't think, you know, I don't think there's anything to be gained by staying out right now. I mean, I did it this morning. You've done it this afternoon. The guy's got an engine change. We could get to that quicker. I mean, let's do it.
So we did some eavesdropping at Road Atlanta a couple of weeks ago, and there is a look at Dan Clark, the co-driver with Craig T. Nelson. And no rain problems here this weekend so far at Texas World Speedway. It is hot, it is humid, it is very, very damp out there, but it's not raining, but it sure is oppressive. We're going to bring you the best reception anywhere. Speedvision's live coverage of the Exxon Superflo 500 from Texas World Speedway in College Station. We're about a 2-hour drive north of Houston and just down the road from Texas A&M University, home of the Aggies.
And it's a beautiful day out here. The sun has come out. It's shining. The audience loves it. They're working on their tans.
Well, you saw a group of folks there. Exxon is headquartered about 2 hours away in Houston. They brought like 5,000 folks up for this race, and they're enjoying the sunshine, the competition, and some libation and food.
It's the Exxon GT, so here they are.
Let's go back to Pat Patterson in the pit lane.
Well, we're watching John Heinrich's and Roger Schramm's car there. What do you think went wrong with it, John?
I think it was the transmission input shaft broke because I put it in 5th and it lost all drive. You could put it in any gear, but you got nothing, so I suspect it's the input shaft to the transmission.
It's a tough break. You guys have been real competitive with this car this year.
Yeah, it's a great car. The crew is fantastic, and Dave Watson and the guys always put it together really good, so it'll go fast. We have some teething problems, though, to work out.
They're thrashing, guys.
Tell you what, we have seen some mechanical gremlins from early on in this race.
We're not even halfway through yet, Gary, but the time and the speed and the heat is taking its toll. This is a GTS-1 car that's good for Morgan. That's the exhaust system we see there running down the side of the car that looked as if it wasn't all whole.
There is Jim Pace. We had been anticipating this stop, and it looks like he is going to stay on board for one more stint. So routine service for the Danka team.
He's the Iron Man. Look at him. He looks real calm and collected in there. Jim Pace, friend of mine.
Back to the pit lane, Greg.
Indeed, Jim Pace staying in, and again, they've already got the tires on board. Fuel looks like they're going to top off some oil. Now remember, at Road Atlanta a couple weeks ago, as that race unfolded, they were smoking early. They had to start topping oil off. Well, they're putting some oil in again. I don't know if that's an indication of that previous problem. We hadn't heard anything about it. We'll certainly check. Fuel's done, car's down. Once again, they are heading out. Jim Pace on his way. Right before that stop, we took a look at the timing monitor, and the fastest car on the track is Johnny O'Connell, with Lazzaro second quick, then Wallace, then Pace. So they're losing a little bit of time. Maybe they're trying to save something because of that oil. We're going to find out.
Yeah, Johnny O'Connell has completed 117 laps. He turned his quickest lap at 1:14. So right now he apparently is the fastest of the 3 drivers in the Screaming Eagle entry. So O'Connell is on the track right now for his driving stint. No matter what happens today with Jim Pace and Wayne Taylor, you have to tip your hat to the crew. Those guys had their work cut out for them by basically rebuilding this car from the ground up after Thursday's crash.
And not only that, changing the engine again just before qualifying. And here it is running strong. Let's keep our fingers crossed that they'll continue a good race. They've got a 3-lap deficit to make up to the leading Dyson Rain-X Ford Riley and Scott entry. And back there, Johnny O'Connell in the Craig T. Nelson Screaming Eagles car. He's just going as hard as he can to try and make up the deficit.
Well, of course, he is now in 4th position, and I think it's probably just a case that he was fresh. He came in, the car is good, and he ran the quick lap.
He's a heck of a driver, too. He's looking good out there as he goes by the Ferraris. Not their day. That's the Pappas Moretti entry that he just blew by on the way into turn 1 here at Texas World Speedway.
A rare bad day for the Momo Ferrari.
Yeah, indeed, a truly professional team, and a beautiful transporter, beautiful cars. Although their 66 car is still running reasonably well, they still have a sniff of the lead.
Watching Johnny O'Connell, who you heard earlier, we're taking like a 6 o'clock flight out of Houston to get back to Indianapolis as the other Ferrari leaves the pit lane with Didier Taze now in the cockpit. Johnny O'Connell is now 3rd in the IRL point standings, and that championship will be determined following the Indianapolis 500. So he wants to get back to Indy tonight to get back in the race car for rookie orientation tomorrow. There's a look at Didier Taze, who is no stranger to IndyCar racing. He's driven several IndyCar races in his career, and
as well as Formula One.
Yeah, after getting a chance to rest, he is back in the cockpit of the other Ferrari.
Ferrari's
red T on the helmet for Taze.
Interestingly enough, the Ferrari uses a very high-tech V10 4 valves per cylinder engine.
Look at the tires off the 4 car. Look how they have been used up.
You know what? You wouldn't think that this track would be so hard on tires, but it obviously is, and it's a result of the heat. It's a result of that turn 1, turn 2 complex. It's a result of the long, curving 190-mile-an-hour straightaway. Tires have really got to be a story here this weekend.
Let's go back to Greg Kramer in the pit lane.
Well, 2 things. First of all, the oil. And what happened was we went over to crew chief Mark Scott and said, is there a problem? And he's kind of smirked and said, no, after Road Atlanta, we're just a little gun shy. We're taking no chances. We're keeping that oil absolutely topped up. Now, the tires, the real question here is that is Pirelli's D6 compound tire. There is only one harder, and that's the D5. They're almost at the end of what they can use in terms of usable tires here in terms of hard compound. That's now, we know now why Pace's lap times were dropping back a little bit. They're just eating up those rears.
And the track is going to get worse before it gets better as far as tire wear. A car
right
apparently off the track, the 28 car. We have a problem with Jeff Jones, as Jeff had a problem there and pulled off the track. And he had just gotten in that race car, and I'm not sure he's headed back for the yeah, I guess he is getting back on the racetrack.
We can be very glad he made it over the curb.
So Jeff Jones, just in the car after a pit stop, is back on the track. And as the crews are keeping track of what's going on as well, as you're there in the Screaming Eagle pit lane, we're coming back with more live coverage from College Station, Texas. It has been a long day for the drivers, but a long day for the guys behind the cameras, and our hearty thank you to all you guys out there in the sun, the heat, humidity, giving us some great shots, and we certainly appreciate the efforts. We have some air conditioning here in the broadcast booth. Those guys don't.
You know, it cost me a lot of money to pay off those guys to put a little extra camera time on my car yesterday in the IMSA Endurance Championship.
Well, there's your leader, number 16. Andy Wallace continues to drive the Dyson entry. Rob Dyson with 2 cars here this afternoon, and both cars have led at one or the other moment. And of course, this car has the most lead laps so far, working on lap number 131 of the scheduled 261 around this 1.9-mile racetrack.
So far, that Ford-powered entry has had a pretty much a flawless afternoon thus far, and hence their lead over the Wayne Taylor, Jim Pace Oldsmobile Aurora powered entry, and we've got a tight race up front. There's right now a 2-lap lead for the Dyson entry driven by Andy Wallace we're looking at now. But you know what? On this course, 2 laps, that's not even 2 minutes.
We have documented what happened to the number 4 car, the Wayne Taylor Jim Pace car. They had no time to set it up. They got it in qualifying line. They had 2 hot laps. They got it on the pole. Could the chassis be off just enough
to create
the tire problem?
You nailed it. Let's think back to early in the race when we first joined this race. The Wayne Taylor was complaining about being a little loose. A little loose means the rear is sliding a little too much. Guess what? The rear tires were all worn out in that last shot.
Well, there's a look at number 26. We understand that there may be an electrical problem, but let's go to the driver of that car, Hurley Haywood, standing by in the pit lane with Greg Kramer.
Hurley, well, obviously he's in good shape. He doesn't need any water. Hurley, you were running very well, had the car up into second, one of the best performances this season of that very, let's call it radical Porsche that they're running out there. What happened?
Well, it was fabulous. It was really fun to drive, and we were catching the guy that was in first place, and something on the pulley broke. It's a sensor, and it was just like somebody turned the ignition off. So we're back over in, the mechanics are over in turn 2, and they're trying to get it fixed so we can get running again.
Is it possible, when you're not in pit lane, can the mechanics work on the car and keep you in it, or are you far enough off track, you're off the surface?
Well, where I actually stopped on the track, we had to then have a tow rope to bring it behind the guardrail. Now it's sitting behind the guardrail so the crew can work on it.
Obviously this car, this is a new design. It's a mid-engine Porsche, especially built for racing. Obviously the development coming along.
Yeah, we're very happy with it. We're penalized because the motor is in the middle of the car. It's a mid-engine Porsche. And we have a little motor, a 3.2 liter motor. And when we get on a banking like this, the guys that are running the more conventional cars are allowed to run either 3.8 or 3.6 motors, and they just hose us on the straightaway. But every single race, the car gets a little bit better. So I'm looking for the next time I'll be in it, it will be Watkins Glen. That should be a good show for us.
Alex Jobe Racing and Fab Car, well, they can get it done, no doubt about it.
Well, there's a look at the Momo Ferrari that soldiers on right now in 14th position, but he is some 19 laps behind right now. It has been a tough week for this crew. Max Pappas earlier in practice had an altercation with Sam Shalala, and the crew had to put the car back together for qualifying.
Only 4 years ago, Mad Max was racing in Europe's version of Indy Lights called Formula 3000. Yet last year, he was already a full-fledged Formula 1 pilot, driving 10 races for Team Arrows, with his best finish a superb 7th at Monza. But at the Grand Prix of Britain, he fought first a broken rear wheel and then a front, and finished up in the gravel trap and out of the race. In 1996, however, Max dusted himself off and joined the Momo Ferrari Super Team with co-drivers Didier Taze, Bob Wallach, and Jean-Pierre Moretti at the 24 Hours of Daytona. As the world watched in awe, Max reeled in the leading Oldsmobile by running qualifying caliber laps in a relentless and fascinating charge late in the race. Although ending up only second in the prestigious event's closest ever finish, the name on everyone's lips on the way home was Pappas. Then, 2 weeks ago in Road Atlanta, Max piloted the Ferrari to its first win this season, and the young Italian wasn't shy in showing his emotions after crossing the finish line. First double pumping his fists in the air, Mad Max then executed some major double donuts before pulling into victory lane. Don't expect this guy to be leaving IMSA or the U.S. anytime soon.
You know, I will be there all the time. I love United States. I love the sun. And, you know, here are great people. And I've got a contract with Ferrari, and I will do all the IMSA races. And, you know, we're going to put a big challenge for the championship. And, you know, here I am.
And, of course, that was a chance to meet Max Pappas. This is live television. That's not the videotape I thought we were going to see. But it's been a trying day for the Momo Ferrari team, but they're still soldiering along, but well off the pace.
Max Pappas.
It has been a good day for the Dyson team. It has been a bad day for the Dyson team. They have one car leading, but the team car is still stuck behind the pit wall.
Gary Lee, that's the way racing is, and that's a good reason to run 2 cars, so that if luck doesn't work in your favor and you have a problem with one, you've still got one in the running. And for Rob Dyson, that strategy thus far has been great. The one car breaks on him early for John Paul, unfortunately, but his other car, the 16 car, is out front running flawlessly here at, I guess, about the halfway point in the race.
And Andy Wallace continues at the control panel as he is leading now at lap 138 as we take you overall throughout the field. There's a look at the top 5 right there, and Brassfield now leading in the GT1 class. Your leader in the GT2 is the Schumacher in car 99, and then Cohen second in car 77, rounding out the top 10. In the top 15, you can see 2 GT2 cars there in 11th and 12th. Papp is back there in 15th position, but he is some 19 laps off the pace. There is Haywood now, is still showing 26th, or 19th, we should say, in car 26. That car is off the racetrack. Waddell out of the race. And these other cars are well off the pace as we continue through the entire field rundown.
Yeah, that Leitzinger car is the one we just saw on jack stands there in the pits.
Well, there is the 06 car. The team driver, Dave Donahue, who started the race, is standing by in the pit lane with Greg Kramer.
David, we understand that when that 06 Valvoline BMW comes into the pits, there's going to be some unusual work done on the braking system.
That's right. We're going to come into a regular stop, and during that stop, we're going to pull some or AABS relay or fuse. What's happening is electronically the ABS is working beautifully. Unfortunately, hydraulically it's not. We're locking up the right front tire. When that happens, the entire ABS system goes active, and it's like you're on ice. The car just glides forward, and that's not good. That's where why we keep going off in 3, because the car is pretty flat there, and it's a lot easier to light up that right front tire.
When you disconnect ABS on a car that's designed to run with it, what kind of feel do you have through the pedal? Is it very hard, like power, a power braking system when you turn the power up?
It's really not so bad. I don't know, we're trying some different brake discs on the front of this M3 this weekend. It happened at Daytona where the whole system shut off because of actually the relays were hanging upside down, and they wiggled themselves out. And we went nearly as fast, it was like 0.2 off. And I was just being very cautious, so it shouldn't make much of a difference in our lap times, but it will make it more reliable going into turn 3.
See, that's why they call them professional race car drivers. They can make that adjustment. 07 car is in the pits as well. It's getting some work right now, Gary.
Well, the explanation Dave gave, and now we understand why he went straight over there in turn 3 in the earlier shot. It's tough for a race driver when a computerized system, any system, and in this case the brakes, fails to operate properly. It looks like the 07 car of Pete Halsmer continues to have that dark cloud hanging over it.
Well, David Donahue, of course, is the 29-year-old son of the late Mark Donahue, who was the supercar champion a couple of years ago, and he has a degree in finance from Lehigh University. So, hey, smart kid who, if he doesn't race forever, he's got a good education.
David is quite a gentleman, and in fact I got to drive the BMW he won the Supercar Championship in. I drove it last year in the IMSA Supercar Championship, and it benefited from his work in developing that into a race car for Ed Arnold that was a winner.
We talked earlier about your win at Watkins Glen co-driving with your wife. Now, do you ever say, get out of the car and let me drive it? Does she ever say that to you?
No, because those of us in the audience who are married understand we've got to preserve that delicate relationship.
Yeah.
We just had our 10-year anniversary. It just keeps getting better.
Those of us in the audience that are married. There is Andy Wallace, who continues to lead. We saw a shot of his team car there behind the pit walls. They continue to work on it. We're at lap 141 of 261 scheduled. Now the overall standings as we come to you live from Texas World Speedway after 142 of 261 laps. Andy Wallace continues to set the pace out in front in the Rob Dyson number 16. Jim Pace soldiering along in second. Anthony Lazzaro now is in third position, car 43. Johnny O'Connell has that Screaming Eagle entry up to fourth. Darren Brassfield is fifth and first in class as we take a look then at the rest of the top 10. Now Ross Bentley drove solo at Road Atlanta a couple of weeks ago and finished 3rd overall right now. He started the race, and his teammate is running right now in car 43. Let's go down and talk to Ross and Pat Patterson.
Yeah, you had a good start to this race, and that's what's really kept the momentum going for you guys. Anthony's out doing a good job for you. What do you think so far?
Actually, we've had a good start. The Goodyear tires have worked really, really well. I think that's our advantage today. Some of the other teams without Goodyears are having a few problems, I think, and that's helping us a little bit. The other thing is we're getting great gas mileage. We chose to run with absolutely no aerodynamic downforce in the car. Makes for a bit of a handful through the infield, but we're getting great fuel mileage.
Ross, the second time you get back in the car after you start and you go through that first stint, do you get refocused real quickly when you get back in there, or do you think a lot about what am I going to do differently this time I get into the car the second time, the second stint?
It's usually pretty easy because the car, by that late stage in the race, the car is starting to have, the brake pedal is getting pretty long, and you're focused pretty quick on what's the car, what their problems with the car is, and what are we going to do to make it last to the end. So it's not a problem.
Well, so far these guys are having a great run in the Lee Payne Racing team. Let's go up the street now to Greg Creamer.
Well, what you're looking at, folks, if you're a Star Trek fan, it actually might look familiar. You remember the data disc they used to use? They'd throw in that little machine and it would have all kinds of information on it. Well, that technology is in racing now. This was, if you recall earlier, during one of Wayne Taylor's pit stops, the crew member reached in. We speculated maybe they were adjusting the bars. No, what they were doing was pulling this card out of the computer that's located in there. When Wayne took off, they simply took this card, put it into the computer, the laptop here in the pits, and downloaded all the information off the car so they would know how it was running. A lot of information from a lot of sensors. That may have been when they got the clue, for instance, about the tire problem because the car was not working well in the back. All contained right here.
Oh, do we have too much technology or what? Does that look like A.J. Foyt? No, I don't think so. And A.J., I didn't say that.
I like the sunglasses.
Yes. There's a leader in class, GT2 leader. Once again, we really have 3 races in one here for 500 miles.
These drivers, Andy Pilgrim and Larry Shoemaker, both have worked their way up through the ranks in a sense. Larry Shoemaker and Andy Pilgrim, both champions and winners in the IMSA Endurance Championship. That series for street type cars ran yesterday. And they're in a 911 Porsche RSR 3.8. This car benefiting from the fact that it can weigh quite a bit less than the BMWs, but still this GTS2 battle is perhaps the tightest one out on the track today. We've got 3 or 4 cars, mostly BMWs and Porsches, within 1 lap, even after all this time, duking it out. A combination of speed and endurance.
And you can see the difference in speed right there between the classes as they go down the front stretch into the left-hander in turn 1. I understand we had a little altercation there on the racetrack about a lap or so ago that perhaps we can show you momentarily.
See, the Roger Schramm entry is running again, so they've gotten John Heinrichs back out.
Yeah, and here's that car you were just seeing, and let's see what happens to
missing a side panel there. You know, the flames that we see in the exhaust, that's on the overrun. When the driver lifts off the gas, there is not much of the engine running, and they tend to get kind of rich. In other words, there's a lot of fuel in the exhaust. So that's like an afterburn. It's normal. It's really not a problem typically, although it may have burned that body work bad enough that they had to remove it.
Well, of course, they're well off the pace, too. There's some 20, 34 laps behind. They had a lengthy pit, in fact, a couple of lengthy pit stops earlier in the race. And in a race of 500 miles like this on this racetrack, it's not uncommon for a driver to be 30 or 40 or 50 laps off the lead pace.
I'll tell you what, though, 30 laps, if they change the transmission, 30 laps here is less than 30 minutes. How about that for your quick service work?
Dan Clark back in the Screaming Eagle #2. So after Johnny O'Connell had some very fast laps, and he brings it in to change drivers, and your leader is now lapping second place. And
that
so
pace, the
3
pace
laps behind now.
Gary, the pace they're running is amazing. Andy Wallace and James Weaver just absolutely flying out there because they're putting more laps on second place through speed.
So you're watching first and second. The 16 car is first. The car right behind him is second, but there are 3 laps between those two. And they have completed now 148 laps. Your leader working 149, and this is a 261 lap lead. So quite a lengthy lead at this junction in the race.
It's a long race.
Well, but yeah, but we're halfway through the race and a 3-lap advantage for Andy Wallace and Team Dyson here at Texas World Speedway. Well, there's Jenny's family and fan club saying hello. Jenny Nichols working hard in the remote truck down behind the grandstand, and we're being told she's not working too hard, but maybe her fan club's working harder than she is.
Good-looking bunch of Texans.
You know,
right
there's
there.
one problem. There is a Texas barbecue going on outside the grandstand. And all that aroma is wafting up here to the press box, and I'm getting very hungry.
It sure is.
Pit stop for car number 33 now, and they're going to make a driver change. Nope, they're going to stay with it. Eric Van Cleef is in that car.
Van
He
Cleef
will stay in that car. The kudzu. Now, I have a story about the kudzu. You know what a kudzu is?
I know what the plant is. I'm from the south.
No. What is kudzu?
That's Jim. Oh, the plant or the race car?
The plant.
Oh, it's an awful thing that just takes
It grows
over
along the highway.
Hills, good trees, etc.
You can't kill it out.
No.
You can't beat the kudzu. So Jim Downing said, that's what I'll name my race car.
It just keeps
Running
going.
13th overall is Van Cleef. And see the pneumatic jacks on that particular car.
Van Cleef a winner yesterday in a Toyota Supra in the IMSA Endurance Championship.
And we enjoyed having David Donahue up here doing some commentary with us. And you also came up with your car, fell out of that race, do some commentary. And the guys looked like they had so much fun down there. You had to go back to the pit lane to see if you couldn't find yourself a ride.
A racing driver wants to be on the track, my friend.
There's an official standing right in front of that race car as if it's going to go someplace up on jack, but the rear cowling comes off, so obviously a more serious problem for Van Cleef in car 33.
Always a bad sign when the engine cowling comes off.
Well, here's the 93 car. Henry has some damage on that right rear.
Odds are there's another car somewhere on the track with damage in the left front.
Yes.
Either that or he backed it off himself. One thing about that damage is we've got a fiberglass body tube-frame car here in Henry Taleb's Nissan, and occasionally the damage looks a lot worse than it is because it's nothing but a fiberglass panel. For Henry's sake, let's hope that's the case here. As the car comes through the tight infield section, we can see that this appears to be mostly superficial fiberglass damage. I don't think you'll see any long-term problem from it.
He is 6th in class, that is GTU, and 16th overall, but you're right, little cosmetic damage there, but nothing serious.
And the winner from the last race. In fact, we've had several South American drivers running in the IMSA series doing very well, like Eduardo Dibos of Peru, and here Henry Taleb from Ecuador, I believe.
But obviously a win will not be in the cards for him today.
No, but keep on running, score all the points you can, because in the long run, when it comes to the end of the year in the championship, every single point counts.
There's the 99 car second in GT2, and Schumacher is driving that car. And let's go back to Greg Kramer in the pits.
Well, you know, there's been a lot of concern regarding the Pirelli tires, so we thought we'd ask the other people that are running them. We know there's been problems on the number 4 World Sports car of Taylor. However, there's 3 other cars. The number 47 GTS1 car of the Morgans, the Axiom Oldsmobile, as the we understand leaders coming into the pits. We'll watch for that. We're right here. Also, we have the 99 and 67 GTS2 Porsches. None of them are reporting any blistering problems. The tires are going off after a long stint. They said Charles Morgan ran 50 laps without a problem. So it probably is the setup on the 4 car more than anything else that's creating the serious blistering problems with the car. Now you take a look, number 16, Andy Wallace staying on board, doing some serious duty behind the wheel of this Dyson Racing. Number 16, Riley and Scott Ford, back up top.
Stint, he's staying in the car.
By my count, that'll be the 3rd stint. So Andy Wallace truly pulling the Ironman marathon duty.
Well, he came in with a 3-lap lead and a very quick pit stop.
Very important to get clean, efficient pit stops, and that's what we've seen from the Dyson team today.
So he will not lose the lead, only maybe a half lap or so, and it looks like the Screaming Eagle team is in. And that I think it's Dan. Is that Dan Clark in the car? Dan Clark is in the cockpit.
Engine cover off again. That sign of real trouble. Of course, in a race this long, you could get away with a little bit of work on the car because usually almost everyone's going to have trouble. I don't know if we're going to see Craig T. Nelson winning this race, but they could still make it to the podium if enough misfortune befalls their competitors. Right now, the Dyson car that's leading with Andy Wallace driving has had such a perfect day that you want to knock wood. And I hope that it can continue for them.
I think Craig just celebrated a birthday last month. I think his birthday is April the 4th, but in true Hollywood style, he doesn't give his age.
I was just going to say, I'll bet we're not going to find out how old he is.
Pat, do you have an update on car 33?
Yeah, Eric Van Cleve down here. Obviously, they're pushing the car back into the garage area. What happened to the car? Do you know?
The car was running fine, actually, up until the last lap, and coming down the back straightaway there, we just dropped a cylinder or something. I'm not really sure. It didn't sound like a mechanical problem. The oil pressure, water temperature, everything was good, but we just motor went sour, so I'm not sure if it's something easy or something internal.
All right, well, the guys are working on it, and hopefully maybe get him back in. That's the story for the 33 car.
Yeah, when you talk about going for a podium finish, I mean, you may be 30 or 40 laps back, but if you keep soldiering on as the attrition rate begins to climb and these guys start to fall by the wayside, if you're out there on the racetrack, you at least have a shot at a fairly good finish. So the race continues. We're at lap 155 of the scheduled 261, and right there after a quick pit stop, your leader remains out in front. That's Andy Wallace. We are live from the Exxon Superflo 500. You can see some debris. It looks like it could be a tire or something up there on the racetrack, and that could prompt a full course yellow.
You can see cars swerving around that debris all over the track. Although the IMSA officials do have a debris flag up at the starter stand, that's from the number 7 car.
Full course yellow, full course yellow, and there is the aftermath. John Schneider on board, and he will perhaps not be able to limp back as the Ferrari pace car. Perhaps will go out and pick up your leader, and that will be Andy Wallace. Now, Andy Wallace in the 16 car leads. The 16 car has led the last 106 laps. In fact, 16 between their co-drivers. The 16 car has led 123 of 156 laps. Its teammate, car number 20, there's a look at your leader right there, Andy Wallace. Car number 20, its teammate, led 19 laps early. The Momo Ferrari of Max Pappas led only 1 lap, and car 43 with Ross Bentley led 11 laps. And there is a driver change in car number 30. I think Pappas just got out, and Moretti just climbed in, the car owner now behind the cockpit.
That was a long stint, Gary.
Yeah, it really was a very long stint. Of course, they had a lot of time in the pits for him to rest. The Momo Ferrari, owned by Moretti. Moretti just sold the Momo company only about a month and a half ago. This is the second full course yellow of the day.
Now,
the first came when the Pappas tire exploded early on.
Watching the GTS 2 standings right now, we just saw the Schumacher Pilgrim Porsche stop for gas and go back out on the track again. I don't believe that the Cohen Oberlein, now Halsmer GT2 BMW has yet stopped for fuel.
Notice the pit board right there that reads reset fuel.
Yeah, so what do they have in mind?
A gentle reminder when you make that fuel stop to reset the fuel gauge.
They have a counter that reads out just exactly how much fuel they've used when it's accurate. I know those things sometimes don't read too accurately. But in GTS2, what may be happening here, this full course yellow may be winning the race for BMW. That 77 car right there. If I'm right, he hasn't stopped for gas yet, and he got up a lap when the Porsche stopped a little earlier. Now, perhaps he can come in under yellow, get right back out on the same lap, and pick up a lap on the 99 Porsche of Schumacher and Pilgrim.
And there's the 99 of Schumacher right now, as I think we can go back and show you the top 5, perhaps even the top 10, as we continue to run at reduced speed under this full course yellow. We had some tires, some rubber up on the racetrack, and there's a look right now of the running order. Andy Wallace continues to lead, but look at Henry up there in the 2 car. Is in second position. Lazaro is now still in 3rd. Brassfield in a 1 car is up there in 4th, and Didier Tays in a Ferrari is up in 5th. And look at the track officials out there picking up what is left of that racing tire.
We're seeing again tire challenges, let's call them. Let's not call them problems.
Tire challenges. Well, we'll remain under yellow, so as the crowd looks on, we'll take a break and come back with more action from Texas World Speedway. And not too far away, there is Kyle Field, the football stadium at Texas A&M University, the home of the Aggies, and we're only a couple of miles down the road from Texas A&M here in College Station, Texas, at Texas World Speedway. We remain under yellow as we lost a tire from John Schneider's car number 7, a World Sports Car entry, and the IMSA officials were out there picking up the tires. We had a lot of rubber laid down yesterday. We had a 6-hour IMSA Endurance Championship event. It was a wild affair in the heat of Texas World Speedway. Taking a look at the highlights at the green flag. Look at Cat Teasdale on the inside. Gets a good jump and takes the lead in that white number 1 Pontiac Formula.
That's the way the starts go here at Texas World Speedway. They spread out all over the track.
And a pass coming up for the lead. That is the John Kohler, Gary Smith, number 47, leading, but textbook. Boris Said and his teammate Sean Hendricks to the inside, and the white Mustang takes the lead. And earlier, a little later in the race, a problem for number 47. They lost some suspension components. They lost 15 laps into pit area trying to repair this problem, but the checkered flag after 6 hours came out for Boris Said and Sean Hendricks. The first time a Mustang takes the victory here in endurance competition. And we take a look at the other class winners. There's Bob Henderson.
Toyota Supra, that's Eric Van Cleef, who we just saw running a little bit earlier today.
Bob Henderson, 62 years young.
And then my friend Dave Daugherty and his Nissan 240SX, the winner in compact division.
And here's where you can see all the action from Texas World Speedway on May the 13th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And the broadcast booth will have David Donahue with us. And he did a great job. Enjoyed working with David yesterday. And you came up and joined us for a while. And once again, a look at the football stadium, which is pretty quiet on a Sunday afternoon here in this part of Texas.
And guess what, Gary Lee? I was right about that BMW. He was due for a pit stop. And the best thing you can do in racing is make your pit stop under a yellow flag. So the luck has worked out, and the strategy, the BMW 77 GTS2 M3 car came in under yellow, and that is an advantage for him. He's picked up a lap on the 99 Shoemaker Pilgrim car.
How many times have you heard a race driver say, I would rather be lucky than good?
And you make your luck, too, with hard work. If anybody deserves to win a race at this point, it's the BMW team.
Well, there is a look now at the top 5. Andy Wallace continues to lead, and as we say, that's been the dominant car so far in this event. Jim Pace riding in the second spot in car number 4. That is the car that he shares with Wayne Taylor.
2 laps down.
Yeah, 2 laps down. Lazaro now is in the 3rd spot in car 43.
Just 1 lap behind them. And this is Court Wagner's 911 GTS2 car driven with Kelly Collins and Brent Martini. This car owned by Rick Ramist. I think Rick may be a little bit upset with me after I pushed him out of the way in New Orleans last year, so I can officially apologize on national TV. But they've been running really well. They had a good finish at the Daytona 24-hour.
Did you nerf him?
No, it was much more gentle than that.
A nerf's pretty gentle. So we have completed 160 laps under the yellow now, working lap 161 of a 261 lap event. Well, some of the action is not on the racetrack, but behind the pit wall. The Dyson crew still working on car number 20, and James Weaver, is that Weaver? Who is that in the cockpit now?
That'd be Leitzinger.
Leitzinger remains in the cockpit. They're wiping the car off as if to say, hey, let's go back out and race some more.
If you can't be fast, you might as well look good.
Well, I'm not sure how good he's going to look, but he's going to be well off the pace if he gets back out there. The green flag flies again after that yellow to take some tire rubber off the first turn, coming in on the banking, and we're back racing again and again. It's Wallace out in front.
Big jump on that restart, huh?
During that yellow, though, interestingly enough, the car in second place, Jim Pace, made a very quick stop, perhaps for an adjustment of some kind. Lost a little track position, but he's still on the back of this pack, and he's 2 laps off the pace.
In a long race, a yellow flag situation is a good time to pop into the pits and take care of some little nagging problem that may be nothing more than an irritant, because Pace and Taylor have been hanging on to the lead car, the Wallace car. They're staying within 2 laps, so they must be running very similar pace on the track.
Well, we understand that Halsmer is now out of the 77 car, and Auberlin is back in, and that is the lead BMW of the 3-car stable right now. Let's go back to the pit lane, Greg.
Well, Pete Halsmer right now, of course, just trying to catch a little bit of a cool down, a little cool water on the back of the net. Pete, obviously, you guys running incredibly well. The car seems to be just hooked up.
Well, the guys have really done a nice job. You know, they work awful hard, so you feel like you want to give them something back. You like to work awful hard for them. And it's nice when it starts to pay off. We'll still keep our fingers crossed, but so far it's looking good.
That 77 car is a relatively new add to the program. Luck falling your way here. It looked as if that yellow flag came right about your pit window.
Yeah, it really did. I think we were going to come in 10 laps, 9 or 10 laps from that, so that was pretty right for us. I think it was perfect. So but we still got a little ways to go, but everybody's doing a nice job so far.
Think you could do it one more stop?
I haven't talked to the guys. I don't know. We'll have to see.
All right, well, with the economy that the GTS2 cars get, that's a possibility. We saw that 99 cars stop in, top off, and go. They may have been thinking the same thing.
Well, Bill back in the cockpit and now 8th overall, so a good ride for that team right now. And when you take a look at the 3 BMWs, you might expect the other 2 Valvoline cars to be doing better than this one. Didn't turn out that way today.
Bill Oberlin is an excellent example of a race driver who fits in the category with Max Pappas. He's very fast. He's a risk taker. He can really go on the racetrack, but every so often that doesn't pay off for you, like Max crashing in practice the other day. Let's see how Bill Oberlin does through the rest of the race, because you know he's going to be going flat out to get a win for BMW.
David Donahue is back in the 06 Valvoline BMW. A good shot of David there, and he gave us that in-car camera look, a tour of the racetrack at the very top of our program.
David, a champion 2 years ago in the IMSA Supercar Series in a BMW M5. And though these cars are sponsored by Valvoline, 06 and 07, 77 is run by the same team, Tom Milner's Prototype Technology Group. And all the cars are very similar. They've just got their packages working. You put 3 cars on the track, see where your best drivers should go to try to put together a win.
Well, once again on lap 166 of the scheduled 261. Interesting that we have a total number of laps to run, but we have a time parameter as well. The time limit is 5 hours, so if we had a lengthy yellow for some problem, they could stop the race at 5 hours before we actually completed 261 laps.
You know, if a couple of cars were running very close together for a position, that could be a real question to answer. When's the race exactly going to end? As we look at the 2 top cars in GTS1.
Darren Brasfield in car number 1 leading GTS1. There is your leader right there. And right in front of him is the pole setter, but running second right now, and that is the Morgan entry. And I think it's Rob Morgan now in the cockpit, the son.
Father and son, they're the points leaders. They're going for the championship with that Olds Cutlass, which is really last year's car. A normal front engine, 2-valve V8 driving the rear wheels. The car passing it now is the Hare Brasfield car. Both of those Oldsmobiles have had a really clean run today. It's interesting to take a look at how they compare on the straightaways. Brasfield's not exactly blowing by that Cutlass, is he?
Yeah, I met the points leader. I said he was on the pole in his class. Actually, it was Boris Said who had the fastest qualifying lap in this division, but Boris and the Mustang had all kinds of mechanical problems early on with the water pump, as I recall.
Yeah, tough times.
The Aurora power plant is one that you'll hear a lot about, because the Aurora power plant will be used in the Indy Racing League next year. And also next year, you'll hear about Riley and Scott developing and building an Indy Racing League chassis from their Indianapolis shop.
The Olds Aurora V8 is a modern engine, all aluminum, multi-valve V8. It's very similar to the one in their Aurora street car, very high tech. Whereas the Cutlass that Brasfield is now chasing, driven by either Rob or Charles Morgan, has the older style 2-valve classic V8 that's been raced in America forever.
Was that also the baseline for the North Star engine, the block for the North Star?
That is a good question. I know it's very similar, and they both come out of GM. So it may be just a short stroke GM North Star motor. I'm not sure.
Jim Pay's second overall, now 2 laps behind your leader. Once again, they made a very quick pit stop under yellow for an adjustment, and Jim stayed in the cockpit, but the IMSA official held the car in the pit lane until the field had made its way by, and he rejoined the back of the pack. So really only lost some track position, but when you're 2 or 3 laps back, you know, what's a straightaway?
Gary, you notice that gap has stayed at 2 laps for a long time. So obviously Wayne Taylor and Jim Pace, they're holding steady with the Andy Wallace Rob Dyson entry that's in the lead.
Well, at one time they were 3 laps back, so they've gained a lap now.
They did. They picked one up somewhere.
3 laps down, so they've gained 1 lap as the Ferrari going another lap down. It's just not a good day for the Momo Ferrari team.
No, not a good day for them. How about their 66 car, though? Still running in 4th place with Jerry Jackson and Didier Tays, 7 laps off the lead. Keep in mind, 2 laps at the Texas World Speedway track is less than 2 minutes. 2 minutes in the pits, I mean, that's nothing. You can't clean the windshield in 2 minutes.
Or one quick off-track excursion if somebody else puts you off track. So a lot of things can happen, and a lot of time to go, because once again we're working lap number 169 and 261 scheduled from Texas World Speedway here at College Station. Well, the attrition rate continues to climb here at Texas World Speedway. There is the Screaming Eagle number 2, Johnny O'Connell, Dan Clark, and Craig T. Nelson. The car behind the wall and apparently out. It's retired with a transmission problem. So a good ride for a while. Johnny O'Connell gave it a great ride in the midsection of this race, but that car now is out.
That's too bad for Craig T. Nelson, because his team is really coming along. We've got an interesting report from the 99 Porsche team. You know, tensions can run high during these long races. And when there are 3 BMWs out there together, they thought maybe the 06 and 07 BMWs were trying to make their life a little bit harder to make it easier on the 77 BMW. I don't know. I think tensions run high.
There's a look at the 99 car, but he was saying that the BMW team cars were blocking out there. They were tag teaming him. So, well, let's go back to the pit lane, Greg Creamer.
One of the reasons those tensions might be up there is we confirmed after chatting with the crew chief of the number 99 Porsche for Larry Schumacher and Andy Pilgrim that they stopped, did a quick splash to top the tanks off, threw some new tires on. They are going to try and make it with 1 more stop. So I went down and talked to Tom Milner, the head of the BMW team. He said they should easily be able to make it in 1 more stop. So now those 2 are looking at not having to make additional stops. The battle's heating up, clearly so is the tension.
Often in a race of this length, you spend the first half of the race just getting to the second half and making the car right for the sprint run, the last, say, hour of the event. Right now we're working on lap 172. Again, we're scheduled to go at 261, so we're getting to that point where in the last 50 or 60 laps they can really start the race if, in fact, they're in a position to race somebody.
That's very perceptive, Gary Lee, and it seems that the tighter it gets, the higher the tensions get, the harder everybody runs, the more it becomes like a sprint race, even though we've still got many laps to run.
Look at that, the 20 car is back on the racetrack.
And isn't it shiny?
Well, they had ample time to wipe it off and shine it up. It's 121 laps behind. It led some laps early on in this race, but in fact the 20 car led 19 laps very, very early. But right now, after a long, lengthy pit stop for some major repairs, 121 laps back.
Well, they're probably out there just trying to get a finish and get some points, because from here out, who knows? You have cars going out, kind of like we saw the Van Cleef entry not long ago, and then just the Craig T. Nelson just pulling out just a few minutes ago. Now maybe the Leitzinger can take this Dyson car around the track enough times to pass some of the cars that have already broken.
Or go up and run interference for his teammate.
Well, maybe. I don't think a teammate is going to make it really easy for a competitor to get by, but they don't really make it an overzealous effort to block, or they'll hear from the chief steward.
Pat Patterson, you have an update on the Screaming Eagle. It's not screaming right now.
No, I'm afraid not, Gary. I think she's about had all she's going to do today. The input shaft on the transmission is broken, and that's pretty much going to end their day. Tough day for these guys. They really were working hard to try to get on the podium.
Well, you talk about an input shaft. The new input shaft was just installed in car number 20, so that's why they're so far behind. That was the reason for the lengthy pit stop.
That sounds like maybe 3 input shafts we're talking about here. And you know what? Maybe the cause of that, Gary, is that super tight section going all the way down to such a low gear. Such a tight corner is unusual in IMSA World Sports Car Racing, or a series of tight corners. So drivers are on and off the gas like we see right here. It's hard on that tranny. maybe the torque multiplication from that Ford engine was enough.
So you're down to what, second gear through the slow section?
Oh, these guys are down to first.
Down to first gear?
Because of the great variation in speeds on this track. You go all the way down to first. You have to set up your ratios so you have a first gear for the tight corner, but then you need to use all 6 speeds. So you can be, well, actually 5 speeds in the world sports cars, unless it's a Mazda 3 rotor, to get the top speed you need on the straightaway, 190 miles an hour.
Well, Andy Wallace has had, I think this is his 3rd stint in the car, and I would guess that we'll have a driver change, but the question is who'll be jumping back in that car. Rob Dyson has about 5 or 6 different drivers that he can use, and I suppose he could suit up himself if he had to.
I would imagine James Weaver is itching to get back in.
We look at the 58 car in the pit lane. Sam Shalala is in the pit for a lengthy stop.
Yeah, he's some way back. It looks like you can tell when the car's not right in the competition that the work on the car is a bit more casual.
Well, right now your leader is working on lap 175. And this car has not missed a beat. It's led, well, at one time it led a ton of laps. It led 123 of the first 156. There's Hurley Haywood back on the racetrack. They had the problem that we talked with Hurley about earlier. The crew said, let's get the car back behind that guardrail for some protection. We'll go to work on it, get him back in there.
IMSA recently liberalized their rules on working on cars during a race, in that if you can get it into a safe position, for instance, behind a guardrail somewhere, you can have the crew guys come out and actually work on the car. I think George Silverman and crew knew how dangerous it was to let us drivers get a hand on the wrenches.
57 laps behind is Hurley, but he came here to race and does not like to stand around and watch. That's that.
I don't think he likes working on the cars either.
Somewhat unusual mid-engine Porsche. No, you don't. We don't like you guys wheeling any kind of wrenches.
You know, Gary, when we saw this car being worked on, it was an interesting illustration of how some of these Porsches are based on the stock street car body, and then others are pure race cars. This one, they took that whole rear section off, and you saw nothing but sinuous metal pieces. Whereas some of the cars, that's the real body. You can't just lift that off.
Well, Sam looks like he, after a lengthy pit stop, will be back in the action. And once again, 176 laps now complete. Our scheduled length, 261. It's the 500-miler from Texas World Speedway. We are back with our live coverage from Texas World, but no, this is not Texas World Speedway. This is Le Mans, the big one, the 24 Hours of Le Mans coming up the middle of June. And of course, we're going to have live coverage on Speedvision for you. We'll start the race and then have periodic updates throughout the 24-hour period. Of course, Wayne Taylor will be over there with the Danka entry, trying to do something that's never been done before. One driver winning all 3 of the majors. And if you take a look at Ferraris 1 and 2, there's the Riley and Scott Olds in 3rd, Mario in the Garage Porsche in the 4th qualifying position. And again, Wayne Taylor and Jim Pace, Scott Sharp trying. There is the car right there, actually the team. This is not the car that they qualified at Le Mans, but that team will be going for the hat trick. They've won at Sebring, they've won at Daytona, and they're going now for the 3rd win at the 24 Hours of Le Mans.
Same car, or same kind of car, same drivers.
Well, look at this, the 28 car off course again. Takes one of the little markers with him, and we have some debris down there on the racetrack now. This is the 2nd time for this car to get off course.
That's a Chevy Argo driven by Jeff Jones and Andy Pilgrim driving this and the Porsche. And they've been sneaking their way up the standings. They're all the way up into 5th in class. So I hope that's not a sign of any real trouble for that team.
Well, of course, you talk about an all-American team. Here's an American-built chassis, an American-built engine.
Wayne Taylor with that strange Australian or English accent he's got. But he lives in Altamont Springs, Florida, just a few miles from my hometown.
Yeah, just up the road from Orlando in Disney World.
He's quite a gentleman, too. A very nice, soft-spoken, but hard-driving person.
Isn't it so typical in motorsports that the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde persona? The guy can be very soft-spoken, but yet put him in a race car and they're very, very aggressive.
You know what? That is the truth. I don't know what happens. We spoke of Eric Van Cleef. I know him well, and he's one of those guys that gets in the car and the hair grows on the back of the knuckles and the fangs come out. And look out. He's really something in a car, just like Wayne Taylor.
180 laps now complete, and Andy Wallace continues to lead in the Dyson number 16. Jim Pace driving with Wayne Taylor is now in second, and there's your third place number 43. Didier Taze in a Ferrari is now fourth. Darren Brassfield fifth overall, but first in class in GTS 1. And there was the Jeff Jones. We just saw his car. He is sixth overall. Rob Morgan. The first overall in GTS 2 is Bill Oberlin, who is now eighth overall. Then Larry Schumacher and Court Wagner. A top 10 rundown. 181 laps now complete. And again, there's just over 2 laps between first and second.
2 laps is not very long in a race like this. I mean, we're seeing some good competition today, and I'm glad for Speedvision. I'm glad for you, Gary, because you don't have to make up a lot of things to make it interesting. This is a tight race. I mean, well, Wallace is out there. He's less than 2 minutes ahead after, how long has it been, 2 hours? Amazing.
Didier Taze on board car 66, the other Ferrari, and he right now, Didier, is up there in the fourth position. So a good ride for Didier and his teammate Jerry Jackson, but not such a great day for the team car, the 30 normal Ferrari.
The Ferrari, the 66 car anyway, with Didier Taze is really starting to find its stride. These are fine machines. They missed winning the 24 Hours of Daytona by just a few minutes. So it's unusual to see a problem of the quality of the Momo team. See a team with the quality of Momo have any problems in a race. This Ferrari's starting to run strong. He's moving his way up the charts. A couple of surprises, and he'll be on the podium.
How are those Ferraris for gas consumption?
Actually, they are arguably the most powerful cars in this series, or at least the fastest on the straightaways, according to their competition anyway, and they're definitely the most sophisticated engines. 10 cylinders, 4 valves per cylinder. They scream out there.
Yeah, but how are they on gas consumption?
Well, the more horsepower you make, the more fuel you use. That's almost a given. So they may have to stop more frequently. I haven't really noticed, I'll tell you the truth. I do know that Lee Payne entry with the normal 2-valve, 5-liter Oldsmobile V8 has about the longest fuel range of any of the world sports cars, and they've been using that to their advantage to stay in this race. The Lee Payne entry is only 1 lap behind Taylor and only 3 laps behind the overall lead. Anything could still happen up front. In this
so we're looking now at probably, we're on lap 182. In fact, this car right here has led 151 of 182 laps, but they're going to have to make, what, 2 more stops?
Easy. Yeah, hopefully that's all it'll be, too. And he's about out of gas, so I think we're going to see him coming in very soon.
So you think that James Weaver will go back in and drive the last 2 legs?
I would expect to see that, yeah. Wallace, I mean, they don't call race drivers athletes, or it's an argument. Here's a case where Wallace is definitely showing the athletic prowess of some of the top racing drivers in this world.
Well, of course, the argument continues about football players that have some downtime between plays, and basketball players have timeouts, baseball players set in the dugout for half an inning, whereas a race driver gets out here and drives for 2 or 3 hours without stopping.
And it's perhaps less physical, but it is much more mental. The absolute concentration required. Even on a straightaway like going around NASCAR 4 at Texas World Speedway, you're planning strategies, you're looking for drafts, you're checking gauges. The mind never stops working full blast. It just goes. Here's the Lee Payne entry with its low downforce setup that they mentioned earlier, chasing the Ferrari down into 1, actually catching it out on the straightaway. Low downforce, running less wing causes less drag, which can make the car faster at very high speeds by slipping through the air more easily.
Well, a pass there, but it's not for position. And I suppose when the car, let's see, that Ferrari of Didier Taze is some 7 laps down, so he gets 1 lap back. So I suppose at that point when you're leading and the driver has a 2-lap lead, don't necessarily challenge for that position.
You got it. These drivers are in a totally different frame of mind. The driver of the 66 Ferrari is in a let's go as fast as we can and catch up frame of mind, and he loves passing the overall leader and getting back a lap. The team's probably loving that back in the pits. Lee Payne, he's in the same situation. His driver, Anthony Lazzaro, is trying to get back another lap on that overall leader, and he's only 3 laps down.
And I think they were going by the Brassfield Hare entry, who is 5th overall and now is first in the GTS 1 class.
That Bricks Racing entered car is extremely well prepared and running very strong.
Now, this is not exactly where you pass on this racetrack, and it looks like the 43 car wants to, and indeed does make a pass.
He wanted it pretty badly, didn't he? And I think Andy Wallace just said, Okay, let's let him through.
I think Wallace said go on by, and we'll worry about that a little later.
That's maturity.
Looked like some sparks coming out from under car number 20, like it was bottoming out in one section of the
I'm sure it
infield.
was. At the high speed that they reach at the end of the straightaway, and then when they drop off the banking, they just slam down on their suspension, and they have actual titanium rub rails.
Whoa, look at the smoke. That does not look good.
Not a good sign.
Some ominous smoke from the back of car number 16.
Looks like what we saw coming out of 20 with John Paul early in the race.
And the team car goes by on the high side, so maybe it's not a case of letting those guys go on by. Maybe he has a mechanical problem that could force an early pit stop. So Andy Wallace continues to lead, but our question is there a problem in car number 16? We'll find out. The car that has led 155 of 186 laps is making a pit stop. Andy Wallace is climbing out. Greg Creamer, you're down there.
Well, it looks as though it's routine thus far. You were talking about the smoke. They were a little bit busy. We couldn't find out if they've heard anything from Andy. We'll try and ask Andy himself if he felt any problems, but they're going after it. One of the benefits of a two-car team as we continue to watch the pit stop, thus far fairly routine. One of the benefits is the 20 car came in a few laps before. James Weaver studied the tires that came off the 20 car before he got on board the 16 car. Interestingly, one of those tires had a bubble forming, a blister. It hadn't popped, and that's when it gets real bad, because then it starts chunking, but there was a bubble forming. They are obviously running these tires pretty hard. Okay, now they are taking the rear bodywork off the car. They have discerned more of a problem. One of the members was looking down behind it. Now remember, they had a problem with the half shaft, the drive shaft on the number 20 car. Maybe that's from coming down off the banking. Randy, you were alluding to it, where you hammer down off the banking, it flattens out, it torques the drive line tremendously. They had smoke, and that's what the problem ended up being. They're checking back there now.
Well, and the laps that they had to their advantage, they were 2 laps up, but they're going to lose those laps, and we could see Jim Pace drive the number 4 Danka car back into the lead. Only a lap down now, so as the number 16 sets idly by in the pit lane, the number 4 car is reeling him in, and very soon, within 1 lap, will take the lead.
Oh boy, this isn't good. This is not good. We're going to have a new leader. There's no question about that. Wayne Taylor and Jim Pace are going to go by. They're putting the rear cover back on, though. And interesting.
There comes the 4 car to complete 187 laps.
Easiest pass you'll ever make on the racetrack is when the competitor's sitting on pit lane.
And so we have a new leader. He'll come around. They're on the same lap, but now he'll come around the next time by. He'll take the lead, but they will not get that car out in time to maintain that lead. Let's go back to Greg.
Well, they're really concentrating on the front end of the car. They're trying to move some of the brake ducts out of the way. Looks as though they might have a coolant problem. They were looking at actually the hoses, the lines, and the metal fittings that go onto the radiator. They may have a coolant problem, a leak of some sort. And again, this late in the race, that is tough duty indeed. Weaver waiting patiently, but they're trying to get access now. They pulled a couple of the ducts off so they could get back in there and look. They're actually working right now on the ducting right down in there. And apparently, this might be a lead change. Here comes number 4 down the front straight. Past them. We have a new leader in this one.
You know what happened was when that 16 car was coming into pits, if we looked at that pit stop, the first thing that the crew guy did is pull a screen out of the front. They lost their radiator screen. They probably got a rock or something through the radiator, and they've lost their coolant. They're going to have to change that radiator.
Well, you're right on top of it, because we're now getting official word that it was a hole in the radiator. So you're right on top of it, Randy, and we do have a new leader. In fact, this is the first time the Danka car has led all day. It was the fast qualifier yesterday with Wayne Taylor, but he has not led the race until today, and a problem with car number 91.
91's got a fire in the exhaust system, which is not a big deal as long as it doesn't spread to the bodywork. That we're looking at is actually a muffler with a hole in it. He needs to see minus. And he's trying to get his car started right now. And when a car won't start, you pump a lot of fuel into the exhaust system because it's not burning in the engine. So we got a fire there.
Talk about the Texas barbecue, though.
Yeah. Wayne Taylor. into the lead. Wow, that's something.
Jim Pace is in the cockpit, I think, now.
You just never know in these races.
Let's go back to the pit lane, Greg.
The driver on board the number 16 car at the time of the pit stop and the problem, Andy Wallace, it seemed flawless up until just a couple of laps before the stop.
Yeah, racing cars are always like that. The car was going absolutely fantastically. All the stops were great. All we were doing really was just saving the car, getting to the end of the race. Now, unfortunately, it looks like we've got a hole in the radiator. So, we've got to change it. And I don't know how much time we're going to lose, but hopefully we'll get it done and get back out.
You think you caught it quick enough so that there wasn't any damage done to the Ford engine?
It was only like that for one lap, so it's no problem.
All right, you're going to be a busy gentleman coming up in June. Going to be racing at Le Mans, of course, doing the full BPR series. That seems to be going well, too.
Yeah, it's that's going well, too, but I always like to drive these World Sports cars. They're fantastic to drive, spectacular, and I love them.
All right, and keep in mind, folks, sometime in June, you know when it is, you can watch Andy right here on Speedvision as he does some laps at the Sarth.
Well, Andy brought the car in leading, but right now that team has dropped to third position, and they may drop some more as Didier Tays now 2 laps behind the number 16 car, but he'll make those 2 laps up on the racetrack as they continue to work to perhaps replace that radiator.
That's a fairly simple job, and what that crew chief is hoping, what he is praying, is that the engine didn't get hot enough to do any damage before they came in. Perhaps they made that pit stop because they were overheating. But it looks like we got overheating down here for the Talent Pace entries, too. That's
Pat
Will
Patterson
Pace.
has a comment on this.
Yeah, well, basically the comment's pretty obvious there, guys. Just throw a lot of ice on her and hope you can cool her down some. That's what these guys are doing, and I think you're going to see a little bit more of that in this next hour because a lot of these motors are about at that point whether they're either going to make it the rest of the day or they're not, and that's what they're doing, just cooling her down.
70 laps to go, a 261 lap event here on the 1.9-mile road course at Texas World Speedway. We have completed 191, and Jim Pace continues to set the pace. His teammate Wayne Taylor will take over his driving stint on the next pit stop and would probably then go the rest of the way. So it appears that it could be their race to win from Texas World Speedway. Our live coverage of IMSA competition will continue with the 6 hours at the Glen from Watkins Glen, New York. Beautiful part of New York State on June the 9th and July 14th from Sears Point, Sonoma, California with the California GP. There is James Weaver. He is eagerly awaiting the repairs so he can get back out there, but he well is dropping back. In fact, they're back there in 4th position right now. Now some 7 laps behind.
You lose them quickly on this little 1.9 track. It's not a very long track, even though it's a fast track. And just a radiator change. Look at the new screen on the front nose there to prevent that from happening again. It's put them back in the standings, and we've got a real battle up front. The Taylor Pace car just 1 up on the Lee Payne entry driven by Ross Bentley and Anthony Lazzaro.
Yeah, Bentley went the distance at Road Atlanta 2 weeks ago, but he has been sharing the driving duties this afternoon, and right now they're only a lap behind the leader. And the 2 lead chassis are both the Riley and Scott Mark IIIs, different power plants, but the same chassis.
That's the hot chassis. That's the hot setup right now outside of Ferrari.
That led so many laps. In fact, before they brought that 16 car in, it had led 155 of 186 laps. The leader right now, Jim Pace. We're expecting a pit stop coming up in a few laps anyway, because Pace now on 196 of 261 laps. And of course, the co-driver, Wayne Taylor, who qualified the car yesterday, started the race, and then drive the last leg to finish the show.
Boy, we've really got a battle going here. It's getting very, very interesting. Pace and Taylor being chased by Lee Payne. That's Michael Huey of Essex Racing has put this car together with a Riley and Scott chassis and an Oldsmobile V8. Now, this one's not the Aurora V8. This is the simple 2 valves per cylinder, all-American V8 engine. It sounds a lot like a NASCAR stocker when it goes by. In fact, it runs a lot like one, only it's about 1,500 pounds lighter. So this is quite a battle. These cars are right on top of each other out there.
Ross Bentley finished 3rd overall at Road Atlanta 2 weeks ago. There he goes by Hurley Haywood. They finally got that Porsche back on the racetrack.
You know, I'm reminded now, it's come to me. They mentioned they have a low downforce setup on this Lee Payne, Riley and Scott chassis, and they're not having any tire problems. The only cars that have had tire problems today are the world sports cars. They're the ones that generate the most downforce. They're the ones that put the most load on their tires. And it looks like Lee Payne's team has chosen a strategy that's really carried them up towards the front today, just in terms of car setup.
Well, there you saw the gap between two cars. There is your leader. Now, right up there at the top of your screen, you saw a flash of yellow, and that would be the Payne car in second position. He's a lap down, but right now that gap is beginning to close, and that man right there is trying to put that other car 2 laps down.
It may soon be 2 laps, and I've got a feeling that Jim would just like to make it that.
Well, it looks like we could see a pit stop coming up for this Danka team in 4 or 5 laps. Wayne Taylor would come in and do the rest of the race, go the distance. But right now, Jim Pace is trying to hunt down that yellow number 43 to put him another lap down. So it's almost a 2-lap advantage right now for your leaders. And there is the Momo Ferrari. Looks like Max Pappas is going back in the cockpit.
That car's running 6, Gary. You just never give up. Never give up. Stay out there and keep running.
So the fastest team driver generally going back in for the last leg. The team owner Moretti helping his teammate Pappas strap in. And once again, there's enough room in the cockpit, as we talked earlier about being a 2-seater cockpit, for the co-driver to stand in there and help strap the driver in. And generally, the driver change can be completed before the car is actually refueled.
That's a challenge, however. Drivers have to practice that. And part of the reason is because it's so closely related to safety. When you're buckling, when you're hopping out of the car, you want to get your co-driver buckled in there nice and tight. And that's not always an easy and quick thing to do. But folks, always wear your seatbelts on the track and on the road outside.
Well, there's Wayne Taylor standing by, and you can see a seat insert. He's ready to stick that in there and then climb aboard number 4. So almost a 2-lap advantage now for the Taylor Pace Danka car. And
Pretty
there's a look at
by the crew
Pace
member to pull that seat insert out of the way, just in case you sure wouldn't want to run
in case he comes
over
in too hot and runs over it.
Right. Kind of like Paul Tracy at Nazareth a couple weeks ago.
So we're keeping an eye on Jim Pace. Once again, he's working lap number 199. And in a couple laps, we'll expect a pit stop. There is Wayne Taylor.
You know,
Wayne Taylor and this team won at Daytona and Sebring. Wayne Taylor finished second at Atlanta 2 weeks ago. He leads the point standings for the Drivers' Championship. And right now, it looks like he could be headed onto victory lane here this afternoon.
Fortunes change so quickly, don't they? And we've got Oldsmobiles, as it turns out, in first and second in the world sports cars, but they're 2 different Oldsmobile engines driving these cars, both based on street-type power plants. But Wayne Taylor runs the Olds Aurora multi-valve V8.
What's the old saying? You don't lose until you give up. And right here, you have to credit the team. The team did not give up. They put this car back together, almost totally rebuilt the car from Thursday's crash, flying in parts from the Riley and Scott shop in Indianapolis. And here they are after setting on the pole, leading here as we complete almost lap 200.
By just 1 lap, which is less than a minute. Well, almost 2, right?
Well, almost 2 laps, so they're going to lose some of that on this pit stop. But remember, the 43 car will have to come in and make a pit stop, and perhaps a driver change as well.
That it will, but the 43, as we saw at the beginning of the race, that car gets a long range out of 1 tank of fuel. Here comes the Wayne Taylor, Jim Pace entry. Wayne standing out there bringing the car in. You're only allowed 1 man over the wall to bring the car into the pits.
And Greg Creamer is down there to welcome that car in and cover the pit stop.
I'd say Wayne's doing more of the welcoming. A nice friendly wave to Jim to say, bring it on in right here. I'm ready for you. He's got his seat insert in hand. Again, Pace being very cautious, don't want to do anything silly here. Already had those belts undone. This is such a ballet, really, how they do this. See, the seat insert is in. Jim is helping Wayne to get down into the seat, get it all buckled up. Again, they don't have to worry about those cool suit connections. We had talked earlier about tires. I had said that Pirelli has a D5, that it's its hardest compound. Well, they went back to the truck, and guess what? They found a couple of what they call D4s. Harder still. Wayne told us the reason they were eating up tires is because all that lost track time on particularly Friday, they couldn't get a decent setup on the car. They can't change it during the race too much, so they're doing the next best thing, bolting on a much harder set of tires to just try and get them to live. Fuel is in. They're just working up right now. Number 66, Didier Tays, has just completed a stop. He's out. Haler's done. He's underway. Pretty quick stop. Flips the visor down. He's away with hard tires on board.
And now the Payne entry only 42 seconds back as Wayne Taylor now rejoins the race. Now, can they go 61 laps without stopping?
They're going to try, I'll guarantee you that.
You think this is going to be their last stop?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure of that.
That could be stretching it out if they go a full 61 laps on a tank of fuel. But we'll find out. We'll take this break, come back with more from Texas World Speedway. Well, get your computers out and let's figure out how long we can go per fuel run, because earlier in the race, car 43, who's now running in second position, went 41 laps on fuel. And obviously we do not think that the Taylor Pace car can go that many laps.
That's right. I don't think Taylor Pace is going to make it to the finish without stopping again. And they've got Lee Payne right on their butts, chasing them down. But Lee Payne's not going to make it without a stop either. So it's
yes,
still
but if the Payne car can make it on one more stop and change the driver and make a quick one.
Right, Lazzaro's been in there a long time now, hasn't he?
Lazzaro has been in a long time. That would probably turn it back over on their stop to Ross Bentley.
It would be wise to leave the same driver in there if he feels good. That way you don't have the time for the new driver to crank up to speed.
So you can just top off the fuel, change the tires, and you think you might leave Anthony in there.
You got it. You may not even want to fill the car. When you get near the end of a race, you can put in just enough fuel to be able to finish the race rather than taking the time.
You say near the end of the race, we're at, with about what, 50 some laps left, about 55, 56 laps to go. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll let the crew guys figure that out. We'll just call the race from up there and they can figure out their fuel mileage.
Well, they're running a little less than a minute a lap. So we're talking about 45, 50 minutes worth of racing left here. So we'll have to see. The strategy is going to be everything, and who's going to win the race.
Third place overall, and first place in the GTS 1 class, the Hare Brassfield Olds. Now some 6 laps back, but also 6 laps back is the Jackson Didier Tays World Sports Car entry with the Ferrari. So really the race is up at the front of the pack.
Quite a comeback for that Ferrari, isn't it? That's the same one we saw hung up on the curb early in the race.
Let's go back to the track, the pit lane, and get a comment from Jim Pace.
Jim just getting out of the car, and Jim, absolutely long stint for you. Had to put in some yeoman's duty. First of all, how was the car? You guys didn't get a chance to set it up much.
Well, Greg, the car is fantastic right now. As it gets hotter, a little earlier we blistered one of the right front tire, and the Pirelli guys were right on top of it. They altered the air pressure, changed the compound. Next 2 times out is perfect. Right now, just got out. The car was great. Wayne's hopping in. The car should be great till they finish.
By changing those compounds, I noticed that they went to D4 as a fairly hard compound. Are you trying to just get these tires to last? It's so hot out.
Well, I think as the day gets a little hotter, what happens is when the sun pops out, the tire can go away so quickly, and when it's in the shade, it's not so bad. So it's better to be a little conservative in the event that it does get hotter. The track's only going to get slicker in the later hours, so I think we're made the right decision. Wayne will take it to the finish.
All right, and Gary and Randy, good news for this team. IMSA observed that jack stand on the back, said it's up far enough. It's sticking out, but it's up far enough. They don't have to come in to rectify it.
You're looking at Ross Bentley. He's getting ready to get in the car. This team has really got their game face on right now, because I think Lee Payne Racing thinks they can win this race, and Bentley surely is sitting here getting ready to get back in this big sophisticated game called IMSA. I asked him, I said, with all the technology, what do you think? Can you go the rest of the way? And he gave me that standard racer quote. Maybe.
Well, we look at Ross Bentley. That answers our question as to whether he would go back in the race car. So they have made the decision that he will drive the last leg here, and they're in second position now, only some 42 seconds back of your leader. And there is your lead car, Wayne Taylor.
Here's what they're probably thinking. Lazaro's been in there a long time. He's probably getting tired. The sun's been out for hours now. It's getting hotter and hotter. They're going to put in Ross Bentley, fresh driver, knows the car, and they're going to go as fast as they can go, pull out all the stops, and try to win this race. Because we're starting to get down to crunch time. I mean, we've still got 45 minutes, maybe more to run, but it's close.
Well, right now, the lead has dwindled to only 16 seconds, just over 16 seconds, 206 laps now complete, working on lap 207. So momentarily, we'll be seeing that number 43 car come in, and Lazaro hopping out, Bentley hopping in, and they can generally make a 4-tire change, exchange drivers, and top off the fuel in about 2 minutes.
Okay, now we're going to be really close to the maximum fuel range for the lead Payne entry, aren't we? Payne might be able to stretch it to the finish without another stop.
Right.
And the Konica Danka car is going to have to stop one more time, so that could be a factor too.
Well, they went 51 circuits earlier in the race, and right now they would have to run another probably 4 or 5 laps to get into that window to make it on the final 51 laps of this race.
Wow, they're close.
So the race may be won or lost right here with the pit strategy.
It's possible. I know that crew chief is doing the calculations to see just how far they can push the fuel.
There is your leader in GTS 1. That would be the Irv Hare, Darren Brasfield Oldsmobile, and they are running now first in division, 4th overall. So a very good ride for this car.
Boy, that Bricks Racing Olds Aurora has really looked good so far today. They're way out in the lead, and they're not going to get caught if they keep running.
Well, the next bit of business will be that pit stop for the yellow 43, and we'll come back and cover that live from Texas World Speedway. Back live at Texas World Speedway for the Exxon Superflo 500, a driver change for the lead GTS 1 car, and they will not lose the lead because of this pit stop, because they have a sizable lead, some 2, 3, 4, 5 laps over the second place car. But here is car number 43. Now IMSA is saying that actually car 43 took the lead when the number 4 car came in for a pit stop and had at this time a 7-second advantage. Ross Bentley goes in, so they'll lose the lead, but that will set up a real sprint if they can go the rest of the way without a pit stop.
This is going to be fascinating, because if they can pull off a clean pit stop here, the lead Payne effort has got 51 laps to go. Obviously, the crew chief figured that out to the mark just by what we had seen. They agree with us. Their car, they feel, can do 51 laps, so they're going to mount it up, head out. They're going to go absolutely as fast as they can go from here out. Endurance is out the window. They're going to try and beat that Wayne Taylor car, because he's going to have to do a splash for fuel, we think.
We know that Wayne Taylor will have to stop one more time. Obviously, he'll stay in the car. And their plan right now is to keep that 43 car out for 51 more laps. Here comes Taylor around. He has the lead and now 1 lap advantage. And here comes Bentley. So Bentley is going to be a lap and change back in second position. Oh, we're going to have us a sprint race for the last 50 laps of this event.
These poor cars have already done 400 miles, full blast, 500 horsepower going through the trannies. We've seen input shafts breaking. But now,
tires exploding.
Tires exploding from the heat. I mean, all brands, all cars with downforce. This is a cool race. Wayne Taylor's in front, sure, but he's going to have to stop for fuel before this race is over. And I don't think the Lee Payne car, driven now by Ross Bentley, is going to have to stop again. Oldsmobile against Oldsmobile here. It's new tech Olds versus old tech Olds.
Same chassis.
Same chassis, Riley and Scott.
So the third place car is the Ferrari, and let's go down. Perhaps we can get some pit strategy from the 43 pit. Pat Patterson.
Anthony Lazaro just got out of the car. Good stop for you guys. You got Ross in quickly there. How is the car, and have you guys played the perfect hand today?
I'll tell you what, the Payne Racing Oldsmobile is perfect today. We had a little miscue there at the beginning. Ross thought we had a dead tire in the beginning, and we had to make 1 extra stop. I'll tell you what, this Payne Racing crew has really recovered well. And the Goodyear tires are just holding up great. We went through a harder compound that I requested during my second stint. But I'll tell you what, Goodyear and Oldsmobile and Payne Racing, I can't thank them enough.
All right, that's Anthony Lazaro.
So we still didn't get the answer if they're going to go the distance or not. I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, but we heard every one of the sponsors, didn't we? Good job, Anthony.
Good race driver always gets all the good sponsors in there. Well, there's a look at the 43 car, Ross Bentley, and we are guessing right now that they could go the distance. By virtue of what they did earlier in that race, they had a 51-lap segment, and they had 51 laps to go when they made that pit stop, topped off the fuel, changed drivers. Now, there is your leader, Wayne Taylor, at the controls of car number 4. He won at Sebring. He won at Daytona. He's qualified very well for 24 Hours of Le Mans, and it looks like he could, well, be on his way. Not sure if that was a thank you for moving over or what exactly that gesture was.
It could have been either one, and only Wayne Taylor and the driver of that Ferrari know for sure. But they both know for sure, I guarantee you that.
So once again, a lap and plus move, and right now they're calculating fuel consumption down there in the Adanka pit. Can they perhaps go, Jeff Oldham there working at the desk, can they go the distance?
There's no way, Gary, but you know what they're calculating? How long they have to put fuel in. They're going to figure out if they're smart.
Stop.
Right. They know how fast their fuel flows. They're going to calculate, okay, we need only 10 gallons, not 25. They'll stick the hoses in, time it for 8 seconds, yank them out, and send them down the road.
But keep in mind, though, that fuel flows slower when the tank is nearly empty.
And they've got to make sure they have enough. If they don't put enough in,
well, I'm saying an 8-second time stop now would get less fuel than an 8-second time stop, say, the first 10 or 15 laps of the race.
You think so?
Right. I don't know. I'm asking.
That's a new one on me, Gare, but it could well be, and it may be a factor.
Well, you see, you
race.
got more weight for gravity to push it out.
Oh, yeah, but a smart team fills the rig every time after every stop. Although you're right, the early gallons will go right on down. Say, is there a race going on somewhere?
I'm sorry I brought that up. I really am. I could tell by the expression on your face I was going into no man's land with that. Well, your leader continues to be Wayne Taylor with a lap and some change over the Ross Bentley car as the crew continues to time and figure out pit strategy. It's all coming down to the last pit stop. Live coverage of the Exxon Superflo 500 from Texas World Speedway, and there is the car out in front. How often this season in this type of racing have we seen that car leading the way? That is Wayne Taylor in the Danka Mark III Olds Aurora. But right now he has a lap lead over second place, car 43 Ross Bentley. You saw the car slide just a bit there, so obviously even though they just have some fresh tires on the car, is still sliding.
They're going for it. The heat is up. They've been adjusting throughout the race for the problems that they saw early on that many teams experienced, that the heat is causing the tires to wear on world sports cars. And look at this, the BMW 77 car leading GTS2 is in the pits.
Well, it could be the BMW first win.
You know what? I hope it is. I mean, Eric Wensberg, the M Motorsports manager, and Tom Milner, and all the drivers on that team, and the crew, they deserve it. They've worked so hard. They've been so close. Remember Sebring, 12-hour, Gary? Half an hour from the end. After 12 hours of racing, they're leading, and something finally breaks. So let's hope for the best for these guys. They deserve a win, but they're looking under the car. That's not a good sign, Gary.
Becoming a lengthy pit stop now. They've changed the tires. They've refueled the car. Well, the right rear's not on, though. They're still checking under the rear of that car.
That car's broken. That is too bad. That's good for Schumacher and Pilgrim, though, that they're running second in the 99
there is your new
Porsche.
leader in the 2 class.
Well, Andy Pilgrim's been in there. He's been driving the living daylights out of that car. Pilgrim's a heck of a driver and a heck of a nice guy, and another one of those darn Englishmen racing over in this country. And he's going to go into the lead. See his beady little eyes there with those blue blockers he's wearing? He's going into the lead on right now, isn't he?
Send all your cards and letters to Randy Pobst. I'm not saying a thing about these drivers. Now I want to clarify something. You got to help me out here on that refueling.
Oh, the fueling. Yeah.
I was not aware that they were topping off the pit tank after every stop. If they only were going with so much fuel, as the fuel drains out, it would take longer for a pit stop.
Well, being from Indianapolis, I can't blame you for thinking that maybe it was like Indy cars here, but we can run all
look
we
at
want.
this. Look at this. A lot of smoke at the back of 99. We have information that 77 lost the rear end, and it looks like some ominous smoke from the rear of 99 now.
Let's hope that that was just Andy carrying a lot of entry speed and maybe locking a tire for a moment, because that would be something to see trouble for two cars so close together.
The Pilgrim car is now 8th overall, leading in class, but showing us some smoke, so we'll watch and see if we have any other signs of smoke later on this particular lap.
Yeah, maybe
220 laps now being worked by your leader, Wayne Taylor. And once again, the 77 car with a broken rear end.
Oh, man. Well, there's another BMW running. He's in 3rd place. He's, I believe, 2 laps out behind, no, 1 lap behind the lead Porsche right now. But 2nd place is another Porsche, Kurt Wagner, Kelly Collins, and Brent Martini. They're running strong in that 78 Porsche.
So the race over for car number 77. And if you've just joined us, to really set the stage now for the finish, we're at lap 220 of a 261 lap event here at Texas World Speedway, and there is your leader coming in. So perhaps there is a problem with car 99.
Let's look and see, folks, if this is going to be just a normal stop. Look, they're pitted right next to each other, or are they? It looks like a regular stop right now.
Well, of course, it looked like a regular stop for the 77 car too.
It did, didn't it? Right next to each other.
Driver change? Yes, a driver change. So they're changing tires, taking on the fuel, will change drivers, and perhaps there's not a mechanical problem.
Let's hope so, for the sake of Schumacher and Pilgrim.
Let's go to the pit lane and Greg Freeman.
I'm standing by with Bill Oberlin. And Bill, you had such an incredible drive in the 77 BMW today. Looked like you maybe had this one finally for BMW. Problem, what's up?
Yeah, I mean, we backed off our pace. We turned the RPMs down. We did everything like we should. You know, we didn't fight with the leader. I mean, we were the leader. We didn't fight with second when he went by to gain the lap. Boy, I tell you, that's a hard one. They had a great car. Yokohama had a great tire. I thought we had this one wrapped up. And I'd like to thank all the guys. You know, they put, you know, Eric Winsberg, Tom Milner, all the people that made it happen for me. Sorry.
What happened to the car?
Either their same rear end or a drive shaft blew up.
This track has shown that it's fairly tough on those components this week, and you did a nice job.
Yeah, well, what happens is you get on this infield and you can apply so much power and light the wheels up over and over to try to refrain from doing it, but it really takes a toll on these poor little parts. I'd like to thank Matt Cohen for letting me drive his car. He's a young man who let me in, and tough break.
All right, and we understand the number 99 Porsche, which has taken over the lead, back and underway. So tough break for the BMW team. Good break for the 99 Porsche.
And the Jeff Jones 28 car for about the 3rd time this afternoon off in the grass in the infield section.
Doesn't appear to be in any hurry to get back to the track either. That's not a good sign. They've been running well. Blake Pridgeon and Jeff Jones, new to the World Sports Car class this year in a Chevrolet Argo.
Now we're seeing no smoke now from 99, so apparently all is well in that particular camp.
I think that was just Andy flying down into turn 1 on some old tires and locking them up for a moment. Porsche's reliability is legendary, and that's carried them into the lead at this point. But as we've seen, how quickly fortunes can change in this race.
Well, good fortune so far today for this team. Number 4, Wayne Taylor, who started from the pole position, only had 2 laps to qualify yesterday because the team had to put the car back together after a practice crash on Thursday. And then after they had the 2 laps to qualify, they changed, or actually they changed the engine right before they qualified. They only had 2 laps to practice, could not get the car necessarily set up for the race itself. So this team has been racing and setting the car up, making the adjustments as they go. He started from the pole, but then fell back to about 4th and eventually let the race come back to him.
Good strategy. Wayne Taylor knows how to work a team.
So right now he has just over a lap advantage, and there is the laps left from Texas World Speedway. Well, here are your points leader in this class. Charles Morgan now in the car. Or was it, I think Rob just took over the driving. It's father and son. Rob will be taking over when the car comes in, so we're anticipating a pit stop for Charles Morgan. And they lead the point standings. Right now they're 2nd in their class and 6th overall.
The Axiom Olds Cutlass, kind of a surprise last year. These two gentlemen, father and son, sportsmen, got into racing, learned the business, kind of like Craig T. Nielsen is doing right now over the last couple seasons. And then last year, they even out-qualified the factory Oldsmobile effort with their private effort once or twice. And we can see here that they know how to do it. They're quite a team, and they're going to be stopping by the pit soon, Gary?
Yeah, we understand they're going to make a pit stop, and Charles is in the car right now. He will yield the driving chores to his 22-year-old son, Rob. And Rob, of course, will drive the last stint to the checkered flag.
In the overall standings, they're just one position behind here in Brassfield in the Olds Aurora. So it's Oldsmobile 1-2 in GTS1. It's Oldsmobile Power 1-2 in World Sports Cars. This is turning into kind of an Oldsmobile weekend in Texas World Speedway.
We're getting a word from IMSA that 99 Schumacher and Pilgrim leaking grease right now. We're unsure what the problem may be. And there's a look at it right there, but apparently they have a leak of some type. Yeah, it could be. We saw some smoke in that car earlier.
He's heading down the straightaway. If we could get a look at him as he goes into one, maybe we'll see if that puff of smoke pops up. And he's got his competition right next to him.
Let's find out from Andy Pigwell, who's standing by with Greg Green.
Hey, Andy, been in the car quite a while, seemed to be running fine. You made the stop, turned it back over to Larry, and now we understand maybe a problem.
Yeah, there was some grease. When they left the pit, there was some grease under the car, and they think it came from an axle. So they're debating right now whether they need to come in and check it or whether they can leave it for maybe the 25 minutes remaining. We've got to see.
We'd seen a couple reports of smoke from the car before you came in, probably the same thing.
That was probably it. Yeah, I hadn't heard that, but one time down the straightaway, a lot of smoke, so something just let go.
Otherwise, how's things? Tires, track, everything good that way?
It's perfect. Everything was perfect to that point, honestly.
It's generally that way. One little thing creates the problem.
So we'll wait and see if that car eventually makes a pit stop to be serviced.
Isn't that something? I mean, now we need to look over at that 78 Porsche of Court Wagner, Brent Martini, and Kelly Collins. The Rick Ramostone car is maybe going to be taking the lead here soon.
Well, the 47 car, Charles Morgan stays out for one more lap, so we're still not sure when he might bring that in and turn it over to his son, Rob. The 78 car that you speak of is now some 30 seconds behind the 99 car, so obviously if 99 stops, we'll have a new leader. There's the 78 car right now.
They've been just quietly motoring along all day, and actually there's nothing quiet about it in the car. Those guys have been driving their hearts out, and we'll just have to see. Court Wagner, a lead driver on the team, a champion in the Ferrari Challenge last year in a 348 Ferrari. Picked up the ride with Rick Ramos today, has been running strong. It could be their day.
They're 9th overall, 2nd in class, though. Once again, only 30 seconds behind the lead in class, which would be the 99 Porsche.
Interesting shot there of the difference in cornering power between a good World Sports car and a good GTS car. The World Sport car is just much quicker in the corners.
Well, we understand now, we talked about what pit strategy we may have played out a bit later. We understand that number 43, that would be Ross Bentley, is now 1 minute and 38 seconds back in 2nd position.
We got some amazing battles going on here. Look at that Porsche carrying the front wheel through those long sweepers. That's because most of the weight on a Porsche is in the back. So when he's accelerating really hard, he can actually lift his inside front wheel into the air.
There was a wave. What was that all about?
It could be he was just simply trying to cool off a little bit. You can stick your hand out the window and direct air in on yourself in between shifts.
Because there's no one to wave to down there coming out of turn 8.
Sometimes, in fact, it's a requirement that a race driver put his hand in the air and signal when he's thinking about going into the pits, but it'll be on that lap. You only do that right as you're about to come in the pits to warn the car behind you.
There is your overall leader, Wayne Taylor, about to complete 230 laps. 31 laps to go, and he has a 1 minute 38 second advantage. However, if he has to stop for fuel, and Ross Bentley doesn't.
You know, if they're only going to need 10 or 20 seconds of fuel, but they've got to slow down to 65 miles an hour, they've got to stop, they've got to get accelerated again. That could be really interesting.
Of course, he has won 2 of the past 3 events, finished 2nd in the last outing at Atlanta. Hope to go over and win the 24 Hours Le Mans, become the first driver to win those big 3 in one season.
Should be some momentum for the Doyle Racing team. You know, if they were to pull off a win here and then send Jim Pace and Wayne Taylor over to France to contest the Le Mans 24 Hour.
Scott Sharp will be a member of that team over there as well. So once again, your leader about to complete lap 231. So 30 laps to go, and he has a minute-and-a-half lead. Back live coverage of the Exxon Superflo 500 in the waning laps of this race. Now 232 laps complete. There is your overall leader in the blue and yellow and white number 4.
Gary,
Wayne
it's not
Taylor.
waning. It's perfectly sunny and dry and hot out there.
What?
You said the waning laps. It's not waning. What are you talking about?
Well, okay. The final few laps. How's that? We still have almost 30 laps, 29 laps to go, as a matter of fact. But there is your leader. We're trying to get the interval now between first and second. And that lead has just increased over the last 2 laps to 1 minute and 44 seconds. It had been before the break 1 minute 38. So the leader has picked up 6 seconds on Ross Bentley, who rides in second position. But again, we are guessing at this point that Ross may be able, we say may be able to go the distance, and we'll see at least one more stop for Wayne Taylor. Now there is Charles Morgan, car 47. An interesting situation developing from that crew.
Well, we've got a report from our spotter that the 47 crew has actually asked the chief steward of the tower to meatball that car. And in racing, meatball means showing a black flag that the car has to come in for a mechanical. Remember Rob mentioned earlier they had trouble with their radio? Maybe their radio has quit working and they actually tried to use the starter to signal the car in.
Well, Pat Patterson is down there.
Well, that's exactly right, guys. They had a short in it, and only a couple of people could talk to him, and they kept signaling. They took the board out beside the outside retaining wall trying to get the word that they needed fuel. And finally, I think he got the message, and Rob Sr. or Charles Morgan comes out, and Rob Morgan is going into the car. These guys have had a great day. It would have been a shame to see them lose based on a communications problem.
Well, they now are a second in class. 6th overall. You see the driver change going on, and Charles climbs in to help his son buckle up.
Communications are a critical part of racing in an endurance race because that's how you time the pit stops. That's how you keep from running out of fuel out there on the course. And when the radio goes down, signaling becomes a real problem. For instance, here at Texas World Speedway, you can't send a crew guy out to the wall. It's not allowed to signal with a signboard. So you've got basically have to wave your hands like crazy and hope he looks over.
And right in front of 47 is the 06 BMW, the Valvoline car, also in for service.
They're running 4th now. They got passed by the 67 Porsche of Perner and Coker. So BMW's chances starting to fade away here late in the race at Texas World.
Charles Morgan about to pull the helmet off as his son Rob re-enters the fray, and we're at lap 236 of 261. Your leader is still Wayne Taylor by over 1 minute and 45 seconds. Let's go back to the pit lane. Once again, Pat Patterson.
Hey, did you see him waving at you there? What was the first clue that you needed to come in?
Well, I was just being sure that was meatball was for me. I saw it a couple of times, but I wasn't sure that it was 47.
Right.
So I don't know how many times they gave it, but I saw it twice. So.
It's funny how little things in this business can cost you a lot if you're not careful.
Well, we ran out of radio here a while ago, and so we've been driving blind. And the car's working fine. Everything's doing good with the car. We just ran out of radio communication.
Good luck rest of the race.
Thanks, Pat.
You know, it's interesting. You really don't have to go back that far that we didn't have radios. We had pit signs, pit boards. They communicated that way. And now, of course, when they say we lose the radio, we're lost.
When that was the plan, it was no problem. Drivers knew to look over there. But when you're relying on the radio, sometimes you need to have a plan B for in case that radio goes down. And in this case,
it's called the meatball.
They went right to the starter. You know, I think Charles did what I do sometimes. Well, we got Hurley Haywood's car coming back on the track.
I think it's Tom Hessert in the car, but he takes an off-track excursion. That car spent some time behind the guardrail. They were working out an electrical problem earlier in the race, but he's back on course now.
Late in the race, the tires are getting old. The track is very hot, and
drivers getting
more
tired.
slippery than ever. The drivers are tired. You'll see a guy go off now and then.
Should see the S2 on the rear of the car.
Yeah, that signals GTS2 for a category, which is the slowest category, but perhaps the most hotly contested today, as we've got the 2 lead GTS2 cars on the same lap.
Well, there is your leader right now overall. Wayne Taylor right now enjoying a 1-minute 45-second advantage over Ross Bentley. Bentley rides in second. And I'm not sure how many times we have said this before, but it's going to come down to the last pit stop that this Danka team will have to make. We say will have to make because we're not sure if the Bentley team is planning on making that pit stop. There is Ross Bentley. We know earlier in the race, this team went 51 laps between pit stops. They came in the last time on lap 210, which would give them 51 laps to go.
Stay close to your television. What we have here is kind of the tortoise and the hare. In this case, the Lee Payne car took the tortoise philosophy. They have the older style Oldsmobile 2-valve 5-liter V8 engine. It's getting better mileage. It doesn't have to stop as often. It's got low drag, so it can get better mileage and still run competitive times. They're the tortoise. The hare is the Konica Danka Oldsmobile Aurora powered chassis. They've got the speed, but they have to stop more often. If they're going to have to make that, well, they are going to have to make one more stop. And when they come in, Gary, I don't know if Lee Payne's entry is going to be able to overhaul them or not, but I do know it's going to be very close. Keep an eye on it.
Well, there is the Lee Payne crew looking on, and only they know in that brain trust if they can go the distance without making one more stop.
That's Michael Gouet of Essex Racing up there working the watches.
The top 3 chassis running 1, 2, and 3 are all the Riley and Scott Mark IIIs.
A very sturdy chassis built by an experienced sedan and Trans Am and Camaro builder.
Another car off the apron there. That is the Jones number 28. They've had all kinds of problems today.
They have. We saw them sitting aside earlier, and it looks like that they tried to make it back in the pits.
There's your leader coming in the pits. I would think this might be a little early for that pit stop.
I agree, Gary. I wouldn't have thought they'd be in this soon. Let's see what happens.
They're in at lap 240. So let's go down. Greg, you're down there.
I am, and it looks like they're going to just quickly go after tires and a little bit of fuel. And in terms of early, with about, well, the way you put it, we have about, 20 laps or so left. They're running about a minute a lap, and they can usually get 30, I think, to 35 minutes on a tank of fuel. So they might be okay. They may have just been pushing the envelope, needed to come in, but are within the window. We'll have to see how that plays out, of course. They're going to, obviously, with this much time to go, put as much fuel in the car as possible. Tires are already done, topping that oil off, and that could have been a factor as well. They may have felt they wanted to get a little bit of oil in the car here. They may have been seeing some drop in pressure. They're making sure that Jack is up in the back, and he is away. Pretty quick stop, all things considered.
Well, now the Ross Bentley car is back on the same lap with the Danka car, but we're showing the Danka car still in the lead.
That was about a 30-second stop, which at this track at Texas World Speedway is about a half a lap. But we've got the speed up and slow down time as well. So let's take close touch with scoring and see how these two cars are going to line up.
Next time by, we'll get the interval between first and second. So now 239 laps complete of a 261 lap event.
We can be sure Wayne Taylor is going to absolutely fly from this point forward. He's got new tires on there. He's got all the fuel he needs. He's got nothing to do now but go as fast as he can.
So now it is his race to win.
Or lose.
Or lose. There is your leader, and we pan over, and right there at the bottom of your screen is second place. So that is the interval that actually represents how close Ross is to going a lap down.
And that 99 Shoemaker car doesn't look like it's going all that quickly, but it doesn't look like they're bringing it in yet either in GTS2.
So
Lee Payne, a sportsman, a philanthropist of sorts, a lover of racing, has put Ross Bentley and Anthony Lazzaro into his entry in this race just because he likes the guys and he wants to further their careers and he wants to see his car win this race. And either way, Oldsmobile wins.
Well, that's true, but right now we're watching your lead car now completing lap number 241. We'll have 20 laps remaining when we come back from this break from Texas World Speedway. The Exxon Superflo 500 has been brought to you by Exxon Gasolines. For smooth, reliable performance, rely on the Tiger. And by BMW, the ultimate driving machine.
You know what? we've got an interesting situation now. The course has just gone full course yellow. This is going to be very, very good for the overall lead battle and very, very good for the show because Wayne Taylor had not yet passed the Lee Payne entry. He was virtually the next car back. So guess what? Now Lee Payne is just about to be waved by the pace car, and then he will be the leader, or no, he'll be picking up an entire lap.
Right.
Pulling up behind Wayne Taylor. That's good. That is very good.
Right now the pace car is out in front of Ross Bentley.
What the pace car does is pick up, in an emergency situation, it'll pick up the first car that it comes to, basically, just to bunch the field, because in order to clean up the incident, in this case, I think it's just simply the 28 car stopped on the apron in the turn 4 area, NASCAR 4. Oh, now we can see.
We see the wave by.
Being waved by. They're going to get the real leader, which is Wayne Taylor, Konica Dankler car. And now look at this. Lee Payne gets to go all the way around the track, back up behind the line again, or the Lee Payne car, excuse me, driven now by Ross Bentley. Unfortunately, nothing more of an emergency than simply the Jeff Jones-Blake Pridgeon entry broken down on the apron, but that's in a dangerous place because it's the part of the apron that drivers use before they enter the pits, and you can see that's pit entry right there. So that car needs to be removed just for the sake of safety. So they put the pace car out for a while, bunch the field up. They'll get a wrecker out there and pull that World Sports car back into the pits, where maybe they can even fix it and get it back in the race.
About 15 cars now between first and second. The leaders on the same lap. Let's go back to the pit lane.
Well, Lee Payne is right here with me, and I just mentioned to him off camera, I said, boy, all you need is a full course caution. You'll be right back in it. Well, there you are.
You know, our team manager, Mike Way, plans things this way usually, and we count on him for a yellow when we need it. Seriously, we've had a great race so far, and it'll give us a little last-minute opportunity to make the most of it. We've got a great team here.
This is the fun part. This is what you spend the money for, to have fun, right?
Yeah, this is what all the sponsors spend money for, to see their car up front. That's the way we like to see ours.
All right, Lee Payne, and he's waiting to see what his driver can do in the final lap. So let's go down to Greg right now.
I'm standing by with Bob Riley, and Bob, this is probably the last thing you wanted to see this late in the race, a full course yellow and the wave around for the number 43 car.
Oh, well, yes, we did, but I believe we're able to go a little faster than the 43 car can. So right now it looks just fine, but still I believe there's 20 laps to go, so it's still a little white knuckle race, but I think we'll be all right at this time because we have a little bit more speed than the 43 car.
For sure, with the factory team, obviously, and Wayne Taylor, but it has to feel pretty good to have the car that's chasing you be another one of the Riley and Scott Mark IIIs. You, as a manufacturer, you're having a great day.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we're real glad to see the 43 car and also the 16 car leading, so we are having a very good day.
A little nervous on the team side, but looking for a 1-2 for the Riley and Scott chassis. I think he's happy.
Well, we're hearing right now, Randy, that number 43 car may come in under this yellow for a splash and go. Now, that's not a bad decision because they only lose a couple of positions on the racetrack because they're at the back of that pack right now on the lead lap.
Exactly right, Gary. Whenever you're at the end of the line behind the pace car, it's like coming to the pits is free. So you can come in. They were going to be stretching their fuel right to the limit. Now they put a little bit in. They know they're not going to have to worry about that. Maybe they can even throw fresh tires on it. We'll see, because they're going to need to go like heck to try to catch Wayne Taylor, because Taylor, remember, was on the pole with that car just after 2 days of repairs.
Well, only 2 cars are on the racetrack behind car 43, so he would lose those 2 positions by virtue of this pit stop. And so we watch to see if he pulls off the track and heads for the pit lane. Yes, here he is. Now, once again, the time stop, just enough fuel taken on to get him the rest of the way. But again, he'll rejoin the pack at the back of the field. And there is Ross Bentley in, and we'll see how long it actually takes him.
Let's see if they put any tires on this thing. Nope, they're happy with their tires. Looks like Goodyear Eagles they're running.
They're going with some worn tires as opposed to the new tires on the 4 car. That is indeed the definition of a splash and go, a quick time spot.
You bet. But you know what? This car probably could have made it anyway. So that what you saw was insurance. Let's be sure we're going to make it. And the slicks, like the Goodyears or any brand that's running, they'll hold up well until they wear out. Now, if they're not worn out, you might as well leave them on and just go with a setup that you know, with tires that you know are working well.
Well, the track position he lost because of that stop, he'll quickly regain on the restart because
sure
he'll
will.
blow by those other class cars.
He sure
so
will.
we still have, what, 16 laps to go. It will make for a very interesting finish in this Exxon Superflo 500 from Texas World Speedway. Welcome back. We are just underway on the restart. There is your leader, Wayne Taylor. The restart on lap 245. And we saw coming down the front straightaway that Ross Bentley picked off about 5 cars. So he is right in the middle of that pack going through the S's through the infield.
That's not good for Ross because it's tough in that section, in all that traffic, to go quick. You just can't get by anyone. But where he's quick anyway is up on the banking.
About 8 cars now separating first and second. So he passed a bunch of cars on the restart. There's your leader. One of the Ferraris tucked in behind him as we pan back to show you the gap back to that second place car.
That's the 16
yellow car
Dyson
right there.
car. And then there's Lee Payne.
Well, I think Bob Riley was right that the Ford car is faster per lap than the 43 car. The Ford car has newer tires on it.
And those 2 Porsches racing for position for second and third, right behind the Ramus car and the Coker-Perner car.
The Dyson car now, car number 20, right behind the 43 car, as Ross Bentley again through the infield section on lap 248. So he has put 12 cars behind him after that restart.
He's got the bit between his teeth, that's for sure. But I'm sure Wayne Taylor's doing the same thing up front. And I think that Wayne Taylor car is a quicker car. If Wayne stays clean.
At this junction in the race, if you have a 2 or 3 lap lead, you can really backpedal just a bit. Wayne Taylor can't do that. He has to push that car. He has to race that car because he's being pressured right now. So despite the fact that Bob Riley thinks that car is faster and the stopwatch would seem to indicate that, he still can't back off in it.
That's the truth. We say faster. GTS1 leader, Irv Hare back in the car, cruising along. They've had just a flawless race in that Oldsmobile Aurora.
Only 12 seconds now, 12.2 seconds separating first and second. And there is Irv Hare again, and they are running 5th overall, first in class. And they right now are first in GT1, and the Morgan car with Charles and son Rob are second in GT1 class.
And catching a heck of a battle for second. These 2 Porsches are GTS2, second and third place. That's Court Wagner in the 78 car, probably Jeff Perner or Charles Coker in the 67 Porsche GTS2 cars, battling it out near the end of the race. Both of them only a lap down to the leader.
Well, once again, the leader is working on lap 249. 261 scheduled. The time limit will not be a factor here, or shouldn't be a factor this afternoon. There's a 5-hour time limit, but we should not really be a problem with that.
The GTS2 leader, Larry Schumacher, in another 911. He's only a lap up on those other 2 Porsches we just saw. And the only reason he is that yellow flag. The leader was between him and his competition, so he got a lap up, and it was a good break for him. But we know that car has a problem, a little gremlin. Is it going to make it to the end of the race?
We are now showing the lead, the gap between first and second at just over 13 seconds. So indeed, the number 43 car had some trouble getting through the slower cars in the infield section through the S's, while it was clear track in front of Wayne Taylor, the leader.
It pays to be the leader. If you're not the leader, you know the view never changes.
So once again on lap 250 laps now completed, 11 laps to go. And just as soon as second place Ross Bentley crosses the start-finish line, we will try to give you that interval now between first and second. With 11 laps to go for Wayne Taylor. He has won 2 of the 3 races so far this season, and now the interval is 14.3 seconds, and there is the battle right there for 3rd overall. He's headed up to, the 66 car is now 3rd. The 16 is now in 4th position. So here is your battle for 3rd overall.
That 16 car is a Dyson car, now driven by James Weaver. That's the one we saw get the new radiator not long ago. The Didier Tays car ahead of him is the same one that was hung up on the curb earlier in the race. It's interesting to see what happens in these long races. Weaver, look, he's running low on the banking because that's a shorter line, and he doesn't think he's up close enough to the Ferrari to get a draft off of it yet.
Well, once again, if he can get by the Ferrari, it'd be a clean podium sweep for the Riley and Scott chassis.
Well, you know, Bob Riley would love that if it can happen, but you know Didier Taze is not going to want to finish behind anyone he doesn't have to. Those Ferraris very quick here, well up in the grid in qualifying. He may be able to stay ahead.
Well, we're staying on this battle right now for third position because the gap continues to widen between first and second. Now we're 15 seconds, the advantage for Wayne Taylor. So this is the best battle on the racetrack right now. There is the gap between third and fourth.
It shows what can happen in a long race like this. 500 miles. The 66 car, we saw it hung up on the curb. We figured it was over for Landshark Racing and that Ferrari team. But now, here they are in third position and battling it out, trying to hang on to it.
It looks to me like the Ferrari has the advantage here on the fast area of the racetrack, and it looks like perhaps that 16 car can close in the infield section.
Very perceptive. The general gossip in the paddock is that the Ferrari has the most power and the best straight line speed. That's also what the radar guns show, maybe 195, 196 on the straight, depending on the wind. But the Riley and Scott chassis, like the chassis of leader Wayne Taylor right here, is a high downforce chassis, Gary. It's the handling chassis. So it is probably going to be quicker through the tight infield section that we're seeing on camera right now.
Wayne Taylor up behind, I think it's Tom Hessert in the 26 car, and he goes on by, exiting turn 8 up onto the banking. And right now he is picking up about a second a lap over Ross Bentley in the yellow number 43. And there again is that battle for third. Now it's nip and tuck, nose to tail, and now they're up on the high banks. And look, he has the draft now. He's moved up on the high side because he's picked up the draft of 66.
Let's see if he can hold it. He may use this draft to try to slingshot by down into turn 1. He's staying within range. You get a good draft punch by the high wings. See those wings on the back there? This is the slingshot happening.
Didn't make it happen that time.
Ferraris was too much for him on the straightaway. Now they head through the really fast sweepers. This is where the downforce works. This is where those wings stick the world sports cars right to the ground as they come by the 06, I think, BMW, the 07 BMW, neck and neck.
And
Weaver
dive
bombs him.
Didn't think he'd pass it right there, but he made the pass on the inside going through that right-hander.
Pushes it through. Now in this tight infield section, the aerodynamics don't function as much, but they're heading back to the banking. Look at the handling of that Riley and Scott chassis.
But the difference was when he picked up the draft coming down the front stretch, tucked in behind him and stayed tight going through. So, hey, we're set up for a great finish here at Texas World Speedway as we wrap up the Exxon Superflo 500. Just under 5 laps to go for that driver right there. Wayne Taylor out in front, about to win for the third time in 4 events so far this season. But he has just under 5 laps to go and a 23-second margin now over Ross Bentley in the yellow 43 car.
The Lee Payne entry, choosing a low downforce setup on their Riley and Scott chassis with an Oldsmobile 2-valve old-style V8 motor. Its reliability and its good mileage has brought it almost to the win, but not quite. Right now, Wayne Taylor's still in the lead with the new Aurora power plant.
This is the driver car combination that went the distance at Road Atlanta 2 weeks ago and finished third, so a position better this time.
Yeah, we're seeing progress from the Essex Racing team of Lee Payne, race by race. Not to be counted out, ever.
Right now, the Riley and Scott chassis, the Mark III chassis, running 1, 2, and 3 with Wayne Taylor leading and Ross Bentley riding in second.
The very strong
back there in third.
The very strong Ferraris having their problems early on in the race. They've come back to run well, and in fact, a battle for third right now with the Didier Taze entry. But they didn't have quite the reliability and the clean driving that competitors did.
Didier Taze in the 66 Ferrari.
That's the other Dyson car all over him
he's
there.
well off the pace. Car number 20 has only completed, he's on lap 140, so he's over 110 laps behind.
I don't think there's enough time to make that up.
I don't think so. We're in the waning. Oh, there's that word again.
It's
the
not waning out there.
moments of this race. 258 laps complete. 3 laps to go for Wayne Taylor. And I tell you what, after that practice crash on Thursday when something broke, Jim Pace almost totally destroyed this race car. They rebuilt and replaced everything but the tub. Nobody thought this team had a chance at winning.
And Jeff Perner now up to second in the 911. We haven't even really been talking about him all day because he and Charles Coker fell back a little early on in the race. But since then, they've been running hard and clean. Just got by the 78 car owned by Richard Ramist, and he's running in second place. He's been pulling out on the 78 car here.
That'd be ninth overall. The final 2.5 laps of this race. This car was also involved in that pit altercation on Friday, but only minimal damage to the 67 car.
You can't talk about the Porsche 911 in racing without mentioning how long that car has been competitive. Ever since the late 60s, the same basic car chassis setup has been raced, and it's developed so well it has the reliability.
And of course, we put Jeff Perner to work yesterday. You'll hear him from the pit lane on our endurance coverage coming up on Speedvision. So a nice job by Jeff Perner yesterday, getting a touch of television.
You can just see the Porsche lifting that inside front.
We will look for the white flag the next time by, and there is your leader through the infield section, through the S's, into turn 7, turn 8, which will take him back onto the oval. Now through turn 8, up on the 22-degree banking, and we'll have 1 lap to go. The white flag will be displayed this time by as he goes by one of the Valvoline BMWs.
And he can't relax. He's got the lead paint entry driven by Ross Bentley, just half a lap behind, waiting for any last lap disasters, kind of like poor Dale Earnhardt at Daytona. Let's hope Wayne Taylor doesn't lose a tire or have some incident with a lapped car. He's got to not be thinking about trophy girls, not be thinking about spraying champagne. Just one more time around, Wayne.
What he is listening to is everything that car is saying to him right now, and I'm sure he might be talking to it as well.
You know who's spraying hardest right now? It's Jim Pace, because he says, if we win this race, maybe Wayne will forget that I did a little bit of damage 2 days ago.
Well, the checkered flag will fly the next time by through the infield road section into turn 7, turn 8, leading back up onto the 22-degree banking. Now a 28.8 second advantage for this driver right here, and he's back up on the banking for the last time. The checkered flag will fly this time for Wayne Taylor, and the Riley and Scott chassis will finish 1, 2, and 3 here at Texas World Speedway. There is the checkered flag for Wayne Taylor, his 3rd victory in 4 outings. The only other stop was 2 weeks ago when the team finished 2nd.
Good job, Doyle Racing. You pulled a rabbit out of a hat.
And there are the guys right there you have to congratulate because they put this race car back together.
Jim Pace saying, boy, oh boy, good job, guys. You covered me on this one.
And there is the victory lap for Wayne Taylor. And
looks like our GT1 leader is going to be.
And there is the 2nd place car. Ross Bentley will bring home the number 43 in 2nd position, a position better than he finished at Road Atlanta 2 weeks ago.
That's a fine effort for that Riley and Scott chassis with the 2-valve Oldsmobile V8. So it's Oldsmobile 1-2 in World Sports Cars.
And the victory lap continues as James Weaver will bring the number 16 car home in 3rd position, and winning the GTS 1 class will be the Irv Hare Darren Brassfield entry, and that car will finish 5th overall, 1st in class.
Another Oldsmobile, the Oldsmobile Aurora, with a power plant very similar to Wayne Taylor's that won the World Sports Car class.
And 2nd in that class will be the car at the top of your screen. We just caught a glimpse of the Morgan entry, car number 47. And there is the 99 car, Schumacher Pilgrim, and they will take the overall the victory in GTS 2 and the 8th overall. So our congratulations to all of our winners, including our overall winner. And of course, we'll have a chance to come back and visit with him in Victory Lane. Stay with us. Unofficial overall results. Once again, Taylor and Pace taking the victory, third time in 4 outings this season. Bentley and Lazzaro and Payne taking third. Then it's Weaver and Wallace. Then the Ferrari number 66. And then Irv Hare and Darren Brassfield rounding out the top 5, but taking first in class. And there is the overall WSC, and the same with Weaver third, Jackson Tays fourth, and the Moretti Pappas Ferrari in 5th position.
Riley and Scott Chassis top 3.
GTS 1, Irv Hare and Darren Brassfield taking the victory over the Morgan guys. 91 was in the 3rd position. Car number 4, car number 6, that is, in 4th.
Oldsmobiles 1-2 in both of those classes.
And GTS 2, the Schumacher Pilgrim entry, took the overall victory in that class. Coker and Pruner took 2nd. Then it was Wagner and Collins, 06 and 93. And let's go to victory lane.
Well, as you can see, awfully happy down here, and why not? There's been 4 WSC races so far this year. 3 of them have been won by this team, Wayne Taylor and Jim Pace. Wayne, absolutely remarkable comeback from a tough start to the weekend. Way to go.
Thank you very much. You know, I said it before, there's no team like this team, and just everything came together after a disaster in the first day with a failure and losing the car. We fought back, we put on the pole, the guys did an amazing job. During the beginning of the race we had problems with tires, and Pirelli just responded the way they normally do and came back with another compound and made us as quick as anybody at the end. And my teammate Jim Pace did a perfect job. He was in the car for three stints, longer than I could do. And hello to my babies, Ricky and Jordan and Shelley. I'll be home tomorrow. To Dan Doyle, sorry that you couldn't be at Dan, but we're with you.
Well, remember now, Wayne won here last year. He likes Texas World Speedway. How about you, Jim Pace? As Wayne said, a great job behind the wheel, pulling some extra stints. Boy, it paid off beautifully.
Well, I was just glad to be here. I can't say enough about Wayne and this whole team. I mean, literally, I know everybody's heard it, but we went from a junk heap on Thursday afternoon with a big crash. Put the car back together, new motor, basically a new car. Went out and in 2 laps, Wayne qualified it on the pole. And today the race went fine. Tires were a big issue, I think, with the weather. And Pirelli came through for us. The motor ran fine. The tires were real consistent by the end, and we're happy. Couldn't be happier.
Absolutely incredible work by a number of different components, and guess what? They expand their point lead in the 1996 Exxon World Sports Car Championship. Great job.
Well, of course, the drivers seem to get all the spotlight, but we have to really congratulate the team for putting that program back together and giving these guys a chance to qualify for the pole. For Randy Pobst, Pat Patterson, Greg Creamer, I'm Gary Lee. Thanks for joining us so long from Texas World Speedway.